If I'm the Chicago Bears and I have the #1 overall pick, I am staying the hell away from Caleb Williams. No way would I touch him with a 10-foot pole, and I've got proof. I've got reasons. Welcome into Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. I'm Diesel. He's Cole Bryson. This is the newest show here on the Fan Upstate. We appreciate all you Tolos for turning it on and leaving it on right here at the very beginning of the show. Already 25 people in the stream. Let's get it to 50 before the end of this very first segment. Man, we love you guys for listening each and every day. So I said it. The Chicago Bears should run, not walk, run away from drafting Caleb Williams.
Ooh.
I'm saying it right now, Cole. This dude is not that dude.
Really?
This dude is going to be a locker room cancer for the Chicago Bears. And I have proof why. Okay, so here's some audio, Cole. It's a little bit long. Maybe we'll stop it in the middle, pause it, and get a little brief explanation of what's going on here, and then continue it for the second half. But this is audio of Caleb Williams sitting down in an interview talking about the frustration that he felt when he was sitting behind Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. And I want you to listen to his tone. I want you to listen to, I'm going to call it his petulance. I don't want to inform too much of people's opinions on this before you hear it. So let's just go ahead and hear it, and then we'll discuss afterwards. Here we go.
The most recent one was Oklahoma when I didn't start. That one was real tough for me because
when you made a decision to go to Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler was already there.
Yeah.
And that was just at the time when you made a decision to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler was a projected first-round pick.
Yeah.
The next year.
Yeah.
You had to pivot because they decided to start the guy that was supposed to be a first-round pick that year. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Why'd you choose to go there?
Development.
So you thought that
I'd known that Lincoln was the best in the country.
So why did it hurt you though that the
Because I was the best in the country.
Explain that to me.
So there, he says, I was frustrated when I was at Oklahoma sitting behind Spencer Rattler, the projected #1 overall pick next year. And this guy said, you knew all of this. You knew that you were being recruited by a school that had the projected #1 overall pick and that you were going to be sitting behind him.
Yeah, that was Ryan Clark, right?
You made that decision. Why did you do this? Well, development. And because I thought I was the best. I thought I was the best quarterback in America.
You know, I've never been one that's been a fan of Caleb Williams' demeanor or his off the field media. I don't want to call it strengths because I don't know that there are strengths there, but I've never been a fan of Caleb Williams as much off the field as I have on the field.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, he does have these kind of weird kinks, right? Like we've seen him dressed up like who knows what. We've talked, you know, we've now heard audio.
Pink fingernails,
sure.
The pink cell phone case.
I guess my question.
Pacifier in his mouth while he was out in public. I don't know where he was at the time, but he looked like he was in a student section somewhere, maybe in
weird.
a USC basketball game.
But my question is to you, and I'll just play devil's advocate. Does that translate into a good enough reason of why Chicago should run?
Okay, so I want to get into the second half of this audio.
Okay.
But what I heard there was a petulant dude who thought, I'm the best. I should replace the projected #1 overall pick because I was the best guy coming out of high school.
Spur Daddy agrees with you. He says he's an idiot. The Bears should not run but sprint away from Williams.
So, look, I don't look at any one of these things, any one of the issues that we've seen with him.
Yeah.
Hey, what'd you do after the big loss? I went home and cuddled with my dog and watched Netflix. Like, that doesn't sound like the heart of a lion, bro. That doesn't sound like the heart of a champion. I mean, all of these things combined are what's informing my decision. So let's listen to the second half of this audio.
You make a decision to go to the school that has a starter that's coming back, that's supposed to be a first-round pick.
I told many people before I went there, and there's a backstory to it also. I was so fired up. I told people before I went there that I was gonna I was going to start and play and beat him out. I thought I beat him out in spring, and he was projected number 1 and all of that. So he started for 6 games.
Well, I told people that I was going to be the starter there, and then I wasn't the starter. So I got my feelings hurt.
And so I prepared. I kept preparing. Lincoln told me, keep going. It's something that I didn't understand. Those 2 words I did not understand when he told me, because I wasn't asking him. I wasn't coming to him to beg for playing time. I never came to him. I came to him and asked him, how do I do it? How do I beat this dude out? Because he never let me give reps with the first team. He never let me give reps with, the older guys and things like that. So I took advantage of my reps. I got after it, put my head down. And at a certain point, I felt like, I beat him out. And I got to, at some point, and I went up and asked Link again. I said, how do I do it? How do I beat him out? How do I, what can I do to put myself in a position that I believe that I should be in and want to be in and trying to get to? And so he told me, keep going. He didn't give me any other advice. So that's his words that he told me. And at the time, I was so angry, so frustrated, because I didn't feel like that wasn't what I wanted to hear.
Bro, you're a 17, 18-year-old freshman. It is not your decision to make. Who is the starter on the football team? I felt like I beat him out. I guess you didn't.
Yeah.
You showed something, and maybe it's your whiny-ass, pansy-ass attitude. That's the reason why they didn't want to start you as a true freshman at Oklahoma over a projected first-round pick.
My worry is, though, I hear you, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't like what I hear either, but I'm just playing the other side. Does Chicago feel like this is enough of a concern to not pick the best quarterback in the draft? Because, again,
arguably the best quarterback. There are a lot of people who have hemmed and hawed people smarter than I am when it comes to assessing quarterback talent, right?
Sure.
So I look at this guy and I say, he's entitled. He's entitled as hell.
Yeah, he does sound like it.
I came in and I already told my friends that I was going to be the starter. And then Lincoln didn't make me the starter. And I was mad. He just told me to keep going. Bro, what does that even mean, bro? Like, dude, don't waste your first-round pick on this guy. If you're Chicago, you can have anyone you want. You can have anyone you want. Find somebody who's maybe just slightly less talented than him, who wants to work their ass off and do what it takes to be successful. Caleb Williams wants to be handed everything. That's the reason he left Oklahoma, even though he knew who was in front of him at Oklahoma.
One texter says Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. You heard it from here first. Bro is not that good. He was only good against low-level Pac-12 competition in terms of his play. That's what he's talking about, the texter.
Good. Like, I don't want to be that guy who just throws the baby out with the bathwater and says, well, he's a mediocre talent throwing the football.
Sure.
Because he did it in the Pac-12. I think that's a danger. Like, people say that about ACC quarterbacks. They say that about ACC receivers. It's a danger. Like, if you can make the throws, you can make the throws.
Look, I think that as much as this is a concern, if I have to put myself in their position, the way that he can run, escape pressure, elude pressure, and force the ball downfield, and he's a heck of a talent. I hear you, but I just think that I have to gamble on the talent, and I have to hope as the GM in my position, I have to hope that I can surround him with guys that can help his off-the-field antics. I have to surround him with people that can help him understand that he's not the only player in the franchise. It's not all about him. The world doesn't revolve around him. That's my hope, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, he is by far the best quarterback on the board.
I bring up this line again because I think it holds a lot of weight. It's a line from a song that came out in 2023. It asks, how many times do I have to learn my lesson before I learn my lesson this time?
You talking about with Chicago?
With Chicago.
Yeah.
Didn't they just do this? Didn't they just do this with Justin Fields? I mean, haven't they been spinning their wheels at quarterback now for a while? Like, how many times do you have to waste a number 1 overall pick on a guy who's not right here?
No, I hear you.
Like, he's right everywhere else.
Sure.
Everything else about Caleb Williams coaches ought to be salivating over.
Yeah.
But he's not right in the head.
And I think
right?
that's the gamble. I think you have to gamble. Every draft pick is a gamble.
Well, yeah, of course.
But
the quarterback bust rate in the first round is still 60%.
It is. And to that point, Diesel, my only thing is I can't justify as an owner, if I'm the owner of the Chicago Bears, it would be hard for me to say there's a better player available. You know, like I hear everything you're saying. I don't disagree. It's just when I look at the best player available, who's better on the field than Caleb Williams? Again, people have different draft boards. People have different quarterbacks. Drake May, we're getting a lot of text about Drake May. Brandon on the stream said Caleb Williams is Ryan Leaf 2.0. I don't know if he's going to be that bad. We'll see. James says, I'm just not on board with the hype he and Lincoln Riley got at USC, the excuses everyone gave him when they failed to beat teams like Utah, etc.
I'm getting like big Kyrie Irving energy, big James Harden energy out of Caleb Williams with this audio clip.
It's definitely not welcoming, right? It's definitely not something you want to hear as the owner. I don't think the owner's at all excited to hear about this. And again, do they have their mind made up? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do have their mind made up already, you would think, Diesel. I guess the question is, if you already do have your mind made up, does this audio, if you're the Chicago Bears, does this audio even allow you or make you lean back toward the other way of picking somebody else?
It should. I mean, it should open that crack up pretty wide and make you consider, like, look, we're not stupid here. We don't think that these guys, made their decision 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and say it's Caleb Williams and that's all that's happening. So guys, everybody take a month off.
Sure.
Take a month off before the draft, because we're not even really going to consider anyone else. Like, they are, these guys get paid a lot of money to make these kinds of decisions, right? GMs, coaches, ownership, player personnel people, they make a lot of money to do this. I mean, God, what would it be like, man, to make that kind of money to essentially be gambling on a 60% chance?
Well, that's what you're, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Oh man. I feel like you and I could do this job.
Well, the reality of it is,
it's like being a meteorologist. Is it going to rain today? Well, maybe. And then it pours down rain, or it's beautiful.
The reality of it is, even the owners who have great executives surrounding them, at the end of the day, they still bust. They still bust on picks every year. It happens every year. Every team does it. So, while they do get paid millions and millions of dollars, the fact of the matter is somebody is going to bust. In Chicago's sake, I guess you can now say that Justin Fields was a bust because he didn't move that franchise in the right direction. So I guess you just got to hope you don't bust again.
Yeah, you do. You do. And guess what? We're going to spend a lot of time talking about this on Thursday leading up to the draft. You and I are going to be live at Dave & Buster's Woodruff Road in Greenville. Cole, like, the more we talk about this show, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. We're talking about having correspondents on the ground in Detroit, talking about what's happening out there. We're going to have some amazing produced profiles on some of these players. You and I heard a little bit of that earlier today.
Sure.
I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be the word extravaganza is a big enough word to describe what we've got coming your way on Thursday, live from Dave & Buster's. All you Tolos, we want to see all of you out there. You know why? Like, listening on the radio is great. But for places like Dave & Buster's, they need to see the results, right? They need to see footsteps through the front door. We want to see all of you out there. And if you've got it, wear your gear. Like, whatever team you're a fan of, wear it through the front door. I know there won't be a whole lot of people wearing Carolina Panthers gear because, well, let's be real. They stink, and they don't have a first-round draft pick. But that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about
I'll be in my gear,
Panthers.
though.
Yeah, we're going to have a Anish Shroff, play-by-play voiceover guy for the Carolina Panthers. He will be joining us on the show on Thursday. Man, we got big stuff lined up for you on Thursday.
Trey says, I've been a Bears fan since the 80s. They have really upset me with getting rid of Fields. He never had a chance. James chimes in and says, Chicago's best quarterback in the past 70 years was Jay Cutler. Listen, Chicago's not the destination where you plug a quarterback in. The reality of it is, it doesn't matter what quarterback you pick. They still have other problems. They're in a very similar situation as the Carolina Panthers. One texter texted us and asked if we saw the news with a trade in the NFL. Yes, and we will get to that in just a second. But just for my in my opinion, Diesel, I don't love Trey Lance. I would hate to have that first pick. I'd hate to have to make that decision. But at the end of the day, I'd probably make it. I'd probably, whether I like it or not, I'd probably pick Trey Lance and hope that I can surround him with someone who can help him off the field and just say the right things, right? Have a guy that he goes to and at least meets with and tries to be a franchise guy, because right now he doesn't look like a franchise guy off the field. And that's what you want in a quarterback, right? You want somebody who's going to represent the franchise well. And if he goes and starts talking about the franchise like he was talking about USC and Oklahoma in the audio you played, it's not going to be a good look. It's not going to be a good look at all. I would love for them to do what you say. I'd love for them to say, screw it, we're not going to pick him. I just don't think they will,
No, I mean, hey, the world needs ditch diggers too, right?
Sure.
There's a reason why the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns, because they made terrible decisions at quarterback for decades. So it seems as if whatever was in the water in Cleveland is contagious, and it's made its way up there to Chicago as well. Maybe it's years and years and years of dyeing the Chicago River green.
Could be
on St. Patrick's Day.
Could be. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk college baseball with one of the absolute best in the business. Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball joins the program. And yes, we did see it. The Jets are trading in quarterback Zach Wilson and a 7th-round pick to the Broncos in exchange for a 6th-round pick. So in case you missed it, the Jets have traded just in the last half hour quarterback Zach Wilson to the Denver Broncos. And Zach Wilson is no longer a New York Jet, no longer teammates with Aaron Rodgers, and he is now wearing orange with Sean Payton. We'll talk more about that later on in the program. College baseball, Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball next. It is time now to talk a little college baseball, as we obviously talk a lot of South Carolina and Clemson baseball on the program. But let's take an even bigger step back now and talk college baseball from someone, in my opinion, one of the absolute best in the country. He is Aaron Fitt. He works for D1 Baseball. Aaron, we appreciate you joining us today, man. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. Appreciate you taking time to join us. I want to start off with this, Aaron. We cover Clemson and South Carolina a good bit on this program, but I want to start with the latest D1 rankings that came out earlier today, rather. Texas A&M still at the top. Clemson with a little movement now at 5. But your overall thoughts on the season that A&M's had, and in your opinion, if they are, I don't want to say the overwhelming favorite right now, but in your opinion, are they playing better than anyone else? And do you think that this could translate all the way to Omaha?
Yeah, certainly. Right now, I think they are probably playing better than anyone else, and I think their lineup is truly terrifying. You know, it's a really, really, really scary position player group, and I think they've earned their spot at the top of the rankings. I mean, I had one losing weekend all year long. Arkansas also has only had one losing weekend all year long, and certainly, you know, you would take A&M's position player group over Arkansas's. But personally, I still like Arkansas's pitching the best of anybody. You know, and for me, that's the real separator in this era of college baseball, where offense is crazy. Everybody scores a ton of runs. I mean, you just look at the scoreboard yesterday, and it's like, just in the ACC or SEC, it's like 17-11, 16-13. It's just like, that's just the era we live in now. And if you have real shutdown arms like Arkansas does, to me, that's how you kind of separate yourself from the pack, especially when we get to Omaha. You know, we see those teams at the College World Series. The ones that win it are usually the ones that have real shutdown power arms and guys that throw strikes. And the best teams last year, you know, Wake Forest was kind of far and away the best pitching team last year. And, you know, they were one hit away from the College World Series finals. And LSU, of course, we know the quality of arms that they had, and they won it all. And Arkansas this year leads the country in ERA by a pretty wide margin. Not quite the degree that Wake Forest led last year, but in that ballpark, you know, and for me, that's still the team to beat right now, even though A&M is currently playing the best baseball.
Find him on Twitter at Aaron Fitt. Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Aaron, this is Diesel here. Who of the current non-Power 5 teams who are sitting in your top 25? I'm looking down the list now. East Carolina, who's always really a solid baseball program. UC Irvine, Coastal Carolina, Louisville. Who else? Indiana State also in the top 25. Who of that group of teams do you see maybe pulling a Cinderella move and winning it like Coastal Carolina did a few years ago? Who has the best shot in your mind to make a deep run?
Yeah, it's funny. You know, when I think of East Carolina, the word Cinderella doesn't really come to mind because, like you said, they're just so good every year. You know, they host regionals, they win regionals. They've just never been able to bust down that door to Omaha, which is incredible. I mean, really, they're kind of undisputed, the best college baseball program that's never been to the College World Series, and it's only a matter of time. And it feels like this really could be the year. I mean, because, you know, when they've had their best shots at getting there, it's because they've had frontline power pitching, and that's what they have this year with Trey Savage and Zach Root, which for me is as good a 1-2 punch as you'll probably find in the country. You know, right up there with what Arkansas's got in the rotation, and you know, they've got a lot of experience on that team, guys that have played a ton of postseason games, winning ball players in the lineup. I think this is the year that the Pirates punch their ticket to Omaha, and once they get there, wouldn't surprise me if they're just kind of freed up. You know, they got that monkey off their back that's been there for decades. And once you get there, you know, they've got the arms to do it. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a coastal like run. So that's really the team for me in that mid-major group that stands out the most. I like Irvine's team a lot. It's a really good position player group. They're more physical than maybe you expect from a Big West team. That they're not going to hit a ton of home runs because it's just not a homer-friendly ballpark or a homer-friendly conference. But they do have strength, and they drive the gaps. And there's length in that lineup. There's a ton of quality at bats. They can still beat you with the short game like those West Coast teams always do. And the pitching, I think, is solid. You know, maybe not high end like ECU's pitching, but that's a team also to keep an eye on for sure out west.
Aaron, what are your thoughts on the job that Eric Bakich has done in his short tenure at Clemson? And I guess the second part of that question is, does he have the nation's respect from people on the outside?
Oh, for sure. And, I mean, those of us who cover the sport for a living, I mean, we've respected Eric Bakich for 20 years now. I mean, ever since he was a young assistant at Vanderbilt and I was a young, baseball writer at Baseball America, I got to know that guy early, just out on the recruiting trail, and you see him grinding out there at these showcase events and just talking baseball with him. I mean, you knew even when he was young, just how special he was. And, he had success at Maryland, turned that program really into a contending program, which they hadn't really been in a long time, and went to Michigan and obviously brought them to the College World Series finals. So, I mean, he's got a long track record already, and I'm not at all surprised that he's hit the ground running at Clemson. I think all of us thought that was just a grand slam of a hire. I mean, the perfect hire for that program, a guy who has so much love for that program and history. And obviously, bringing Zach Leggett back into the dugout has been a neat thing to kind of tie the past and the present together. And they just, they play with so much focus and so much confidence and even keel. I mean, I was down there for that Florida State series when they're down 8-1 in the ninth inning. And then they come back and win that game. And then they're down 11-3 the next day in the seventh inning, and they come back and win that game. They just always believe they're in a game. And their approach is so disciplined. They don't get outside themselves. And so much of that comes from coaching and the way that Bakich and his staff teach swing decisions and how, ingrained all that stuff is for those players. It's really remarkable how good their approaches are up and down the lineup.
Aaron, I want to ask a follow-up similar question to keep it here in the state about Mark Kingston at South Carolina. He hasn't been bad. His record at South Carolina is 586, 184 and 130 overall at South Carolina. He has, like I said, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't won titles the way that Gamecock fans expect. What's the national sentiment about Mark Kingston? Is it time for him to, or is it time for the program to consider moving on, or is he the right guy, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a very good job. And really, things you were saying about winning championships, if you think back to 2009, you could say a lot of the same stuff about Ray Tanner. I mean, the difference being that Tanner had been to Omaha a couple of times with the Gamecocks, whereas Kingston has yet to do that. And that to me, I mean, if you're an Omaha level program, then it's just a matter of, once you get there, it's kind of a crapshoot if you win it all or not. You just got to be the hottest team at the right time. But getting to Omaha is kind of the benchmark. And for me, they're right there, man. Like, they've been in supers. They had a really good shot at it last year. They got a shot at it this year. And there's a lot of, I feel like they're kind of lying in the weeds, at 9-9 in the league. They've lost some series. And so you kind of think, I don't know about these guys, but they don't get swept. And they did have that huge series sweep against Vanderbilt that really bolstered their resume. Don't be surprised if they just kind of sneak in there, grab one of those hosting spots again. I think they're right there in that range right now. If they can just get to like 16, certainly 17 conference wins, then I really like their hosting chances. And if you host, you got a pretty good shot to make it. So the fact that they have been able to host some regionals and able to win some regionals, to me, that means the program's in pretty good shape. And I get that the bar was set super high, by those 3 magical years from 2010 to 2012. But I mean, that's not a sustainable level for any program. You look at all the best programs in the country, they all have ups and downs, and it's not realistic to expect that every year. But I get why fans, want a little more than they've gotten. I mean, the program hasn't been to Omaha since 2012, and that's kind of crazy. They got to get through. There's no question they got to break through, and it feels like it's coming. It feels like it's coming.
A follow-up on that, Aaron, and by the way, we're talking to Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball. Does the committee, in your opinion, will they look at South Carolina when the season's said and done, as far as the regular season goes, will they look at South Carolina if they're at a 14-15 conference win mark and give them the benefit of the doubt because of the talent they're having to play week in and week out in the conference?
I don't think so at that point. I mean, if you look historically over the last 20 years, I think there's only been one time where a team has gone 500 in their league and hosted, and that was because they made a deep run in their conference tournament. I think that was Florida recently. But other than that, you really have to finish above 500. That means 16 wins in conference play if you're going to have a chance to host. And even playing the SEC, obviously the SEC gets a lot of respect from the committee. They get more teams in regionals every year. They generally get more teams hosting every year. But, I mean, if you're just 14 or 15 wins in the league, you're probably something like 7th or 8th in the pecking order, and we're not going to get 8 SEC hosts. You got to finish the top 6 or 7 really to have a shot at it.
Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball joins us here on the show, Wire to Wire, with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Aaron, what team is really impressing you the most with their ability to win multiple ways? You know, when they're not really hitting the ball particularly well, they manufacture runs, and who's just tattooing the ball every day that you have a strong belief won't cool off? I mean, a lot of people around here are Atlanta Braves fans. They saw exactly that happen to the Braves last year going into the postseason, tattooing the ball all season long, and then just went cold in that final series when it really mattered. Hopefully that doesn't happen to some teams, but there's a good chance that it does.
Yeah, you're right. And I will say this, we're in such a, as I talked about earlier, we're such a crazy offensive environment. I mean, really, it's the most offensive era we've maybe ever had in college baseball. It's right up there with 1998, when they had the old bats. We had that 21-14 national championship game with USC at Arizona State, and then they changed the bats right after that because it was kind of a bad look for the sport. That's where we are. And so, we're going to see a lot of high-scoring games, especially in June. The weather's hot, the ball's flying. You got all these, fan box parks really around the SEC and the ACC that have home regionals. And so, offense is going to rule the day for the most part until you get to Omaha. And then that's when I think we've got more of a real test, because that's a pitcher-friendly park and the wind typically blows in there. And so if you're a team that really, really relies on the home run, that's where you're going to get got. But like if you're Tennessee, or really pick a team in the SEC, but Tennessee comes to mind because they play in a notoriously small ballpark and they hit a ton of home runs. I think they're going to be fine for those first two rounds. And they're going to be at home anyway. They're going to be a top 8 seed. And they're really tough to beat at home. So like that's one that comes to mind. You're looking at a team that has a really, really scary offense. We talked about A&M being a terrifying offensive team. I think that same word applies to Tennessee. Kentucky is built differently, and they're sitting right up there, way up in the standings. They've had an incredible year. It's not just a classic mashing team, although they have hit a lot more home runs in conference play than they did in the non-conference, and their offense has really kind of been a bit of a surprise. And we knew they could manufacture runs. We knew they could steal bases and force the action that way, and they still could do those things. But now they've also got more power and makes them more multidimensional. Their pitching has kind of come together since they put Travis Smith at the back end, and so that's a team that I don't think anyone saw coming this year or last year. And they hosted a regional last year, and we still didn't really see them coming. We thought, they lost too much. They're going to take a step back, and they haven't. They're a top 5 team in the country. So really impressed with the Wildcats.
Aaron, you talked there about some of the equipment changes that happened after the 98 season. And you said that we're now in another extremely explosive era of offense. Do you foresee, or have you heard any rumors or rumblings about more rules changes, more equipment changes to maybe address the explosive offenses, or are they just going to let it play?
There are a few of us whining about it, but the people who make the decisions don't really seem to care. I mean, the sport is doing fine from a rating standpoint and attendance standpoint, and so I don't think there's been any kind of momentum for a change. I personally think the product we have right now isn't great. I like to see more variety in the style of play. I don't like to see these 14 to 11 games. I don't think that's that fun to watch personally. But again, the people who make the decisions, they didn't invite me to their room. So, I think this is what we're going to have for a while until something really gives, because I think it's out of control. I do think eventually they got to find a way to dial it back, find balance again. I mean, it feels like our game is constantly swinging from one extreme to the other. We had the terrible, dead ball, dead bat era early in BB core from like 2010 to 15. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. That was worse than what we got now when you get to Omaha and nobody can score. But we've gone in the complete opposite direction. And it's just so hard for us to find balance in college baseball. It's been a battle, year after year. We've had a couple of years where it feels like we got it and then we lose it again. So I don't know why that is, but maybe someday we'll find it and sustain it.
Aaron, for those South Carolina and Clemson fans in the audience, give them a little hope, or the opposite, if you're just going to be quite honest. Before we let you go, where do you see South Carolina and Clemson fans finishing the season when you look at their baseball squads this year?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think you really just have to give Clemson credit for what it's accomplished so far this year. I mean, in the face of a whole bunch of injuries, and now you got Tristan Smith back healthy, which as he gets continued to build back up, that's a huge difference maker. The fact that they've been able to keep on winning, without that guy for a while, was a big deal. And Reed Garris is back there in the bullpen. It seems like you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then you lose your shortstop for the year. Kind of messes up the defense. But, I think Jacob Hinderleiter is fine over there. They were better when they had him at first, and Shufo is short. So that's maybe a concern for me moving forward. But I don't know. I mean, overall, I just think they find a way. They find a way. And at this point, it's been incredible that it's been 14 years since they've won a regional. I got to think they get it done this year. So I like their chances to do that and probably, make a run at Omaha. And Gamecocks are just kind of that mystery team, like I said, lying in the weeds. But at the end of the day, they have a lot of veteran guys who played a lot of postseason games, and I'm not going to write them off. I think they got a real shot to make some noise kind of in a surprise way.
Aaron, my alma mater, App State, is probably not a serious threat anytime soon to make a run at Omaha. So for me, who has never been to Omaha, and for me as a fan of a team who's probably not going to get to Omaha, can you kind of explain to us why even fans whose teams aren't going there need to make that pilgrimage to Omaha to see it? And can you kind of explain what makes it so different and special, even if your team's not there?
Yeah, it's magical. It really is, especially in my mind that first weekend where you've got 8 teams there. Everybody's filled with optimism. And it's kind of like, if you go to the Final Four, except you got twice as many teams. So you got twice as many fan bases. So it's just this big melting pot and citywide celebration. Then the fact that, the city has held it every year since 1950. It's so synonymous with the College World Series, the city of Omaha. It makes it so that the whole city really rallies around this event, and everywhere you go, people are talking about it, they're paying attention, and there's just a buzz. There's a buzz around the whole city, and certainly the closer to the ballpark you get. But I've never been as a fan. I've only been as a working member of the media. I would love to go sometime and take my dad, and just sit in the stands and watch some games. You hear a lot of stories of people doing that, and it's a really, really special experience. And it's something that I think I would recommend to anybody.
Aaron, we greatly appreciate you making time for us today. Great work as always. I love following your work and what you do for D1 baseball. Appreciate you so much and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
All right, guys. Good talking with you as well.
Thank you so much. That's Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball. You can follow him on Twitter at Aaron Fitt. That's FITT is the way to get to him. Diesel.
Man, you know what I wish they would do? And correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't old Rosenblatt Stadium still there, like across the street from new Rosenblatt Stadium?
I do not know
they didn't
that.
Tear it down, did they? I didn't think they have. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong here. But how amazing would it be if you had 2 ballparks like that across the street from each other with games going on at the same time? Like picture, hundreds of ballparks across America, or parks where they have multiple ball fields and they have them kind of set up in that 4-leaf clover configuration where all the home plates are close to the middle. Like imagine being in the stands at one of the stadiums and hearing the explosion of the crowd who just hit a home run in the next stadium across the road. That would be magical if it's still there. I assume it is, because it's such a storied building.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't think they'd tear it down. What's that song that says they paved paradise to put up a parking lot? I wouldn't think that they would do that.
Sure.
With old Rosenblatt Stadium, but that would be magical if that was the way they handled things. So I don't know. Get in the comment section on the stream. You can watch it on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Search for The Fan Upstate and let me know, because I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. Cole, when we come back, last week we spent a lot of time talking about the big gets that South Carolina had gotten in the basketball recruiting front. Well, there's some big news coming out of Pickens County. Big things happening down there. We'll get to what's going on with Clemson and recruiting and the transfer portal next here on Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryce and I'm Diesel. We are The Fan Upstate. We call the show Wire to Wire, Cole. That's because we want our Tolos to turn it on and leave it on from 3 o'clock all the way until 7 o'clock. But Wire to Wire, truthfully, Cole, has many meanings. Like, what's the multiple version of double entendre? Multiple entendres? Well, that's what Wire to Wire means on this station and on this show. It means we are covering every sport all year round because, there's no such thing as an off season in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these coaches, they may take a month to go off to Aruba or wherever it is they go in the off season, in their brief vacation, but then they're right back to it. And there's people here working even when coaches are off doing their own things. And now with the transfer portal, Cole, it is even more difficult for these coaches to get out and to shut their brains off for a while, because you have to be recruiting constantly. Not only are some of these guys, some of these coaches still trying to recruit players to come back for their 5th COVID season, and it blows me away that we still have that. I mean, I think App State's got a guy they're trying to get back to come back for like his 6th year because he took a medical red shirt one year. Dude's nearly 40 and he's playing. But same thing is happening with high school recruiting, with the grad transfer market, with the transfer portal. And Brad Brownell, Big Bad Brad, that's hard to say. Big Bad Brad is ripping it up, seemingly, down there in Clemson. Ripping it up in the sense that, like, he's losing players. Replacing them. Like, with guys leaving like RJ Godfrey and Josh Beadle.
Yeah.
Clemson seems to be replacing piece for piece. You replace the pawn with the pawn, you replace the bishop with a bishop, and that seems to be Brad Brownell's MO right now. He's not taking any time off. He's not resting on his laurels. And Clemson has some decent players coming in. So outgoing transfers, we just mentioned them, RJ Godfrey and guard Josh Beadle. Beadle committed to Boston College. RJ Godfrey, who said just, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm committed, I'm sticking around. And then boom, he's in the transfer portal. I'm watching fan bases all over the internet, Cole, just lose it. Like, what are we doing? Is there a cancer in the locker room? What's happening? No, it's just the culture of college basketball right now. I mean, Dan Hurley had to replace his entire starting 5, right?
Yeah, he did. Well, four or five. Yeah.
Okay. Most of his starting 5 off of a national championship team. And if even the national champions are losing players, like, there's nothing wrong in your locker room, not necessarily just because you're losing players. So want to take a look at what's going on with the transfer portal for Clemson. You have some rumors, though, about Chase Hunter and PJ Hall.
Well, yeah, I mean, just concerning Jaden Zachary. Like, the big news over the weekend is Jaden Zachary commits to Clemson, former Boston College guard. He played there as a freshman and a sophomore. And, Jaden Zachary committed to Clemson with a very strong opinion of he would love to be able to play with Chase Hunter. Again, that doesn't mean Chase Hunter is coming back. However, those are his words in terms of what Jaden Zachary said. So Jaden Zachary, if he talked to anyone before committing to Clemson, you would think that he would have.
Do they have a history that we don't maybe know
Not
about?
that I know of. Jaden Zachary,
high school league or something?
This kid's out of Mariana, Florida, played at Chipola College, and then as a freshman 2 years ago at Boston College. Last year, he was a sophomore at Boston College.
I didn't know Chipotle had a college. That's cool.
Yeah, Chipola. Wow. He led the Eagles in scoring 6 times last year, led the Eagles in assists 12 times, and then led them in steals 10 times. He was pretty good. Over the final 5 games of the season, he averaged nearly 15 points per game.
If you're a Clemson fan, you should know that name. If you're like, why does Jaden Zachary sound so familiar? It's because he torched you twice at the very tail end of that season. January 13th, Zachary scored 18 points on Clemson. Clemson won that game. So you beat him, but he scored 18 on you. And then in the ACC tournament game, Jaden Zachary scored 22. against Clemson. So
they also had a big win over Wake Forest
Yeah.
where he scored 18 down the stretch.
he's got 40 on you in 2 games coming down the stretch. So Clemson fans, you've seen this guy. You got some familiarity with him. You should feel pretty good about that one.
I think it's interesting. I think he's a good player. Clemson definitely needs him. I don't want to overreact, though, and act like this is going to put Clemson right back in another tournament appearance next year in a deep run with the Elite Eight. While
that's
Jaden's
not the culture of the program, though.
While Jaden Zachary is a good player, they still have to figure out if they're going to be able to keep guys like Hall and Hunter, because the reality of it is, even if Hall and Hunter do leave, as good as Zachary may be, he's not going to be able to be enough to get them back. So
are Hall
good
and Hunter
pickup.
both fifth-year COVID guys?
They both have a COVID year left.
Now that is interesting, and we hadn't really talked about it and considered it up to this point, of players who are able to convince transfers, who are able to convince guys and keep them from going off to the G League, to the NBA, to play overseas, whatever it may be, by saying, hey, I want to transfer in if you stay. If you don't stay, I'm going to go somewhere else. That's putting some pressure on those guys. That's putting some pressure on Chase Hunter and PJ Hall. How much do you love Clemson? Will you come back and give it another year for the benefit of the program? That's interesting. Another big transfer who I think has some interest, or has he signed yet? Victor Lakin.
No, he signed.
Out of Cincinnati. Okay, Thank you. Victor Lakin, 6'11", 240-pound grad transfer from Cincinnati. Started in 24 games and played in 29 last year, averaged 9.2 points a game, 6 rebounds, just shy of 2 assists per game, shooting at just under 50%. So he's a guy that doesn't seem like he takes a ton of shots, but when he does, he hits half of them.
Yeah. He's a guy that will be good for Clemson in the paint. He's not a guy that's going to be able to stretch the floor and allow you to run sets like you ran with PJ Hall, where you can try to bring their big man up, because PJ is a threat to shoot from 3. This guy's not that. As good as a player as he is inside, Lakin's not a guy that's going to be able to shoot the 3 ball for Clemson. So 9.2 points per game is, like you said, Diesel, what he averaged. I think he'll help. I think both of these players will help. Obviously, they need help after some players have announced their departure. We'll see how good they are, though. One of them from Boston College, one of them from Cincinnati. I think they both need to be big time, though, especially for Clemson coming up with Brad Brownell, not really having a tap on the state like Lamont does.
I find it amusing that Clemson and Boston College are trading players in this class, right? We have Josh Beadle going to Boston College, and then Jaden Zachary coming from Boston College to Clemson. That's really interesting. It seems, though, Cole, that Brad Brownell is doing a fairly good job just plugging like for like with players in this transfer portal. But it also seems as if he knows that he doesn't want to let the culture of his program get away from him and become transfer U, right? He's using it fairly sparingly. He's not building his entire team off of the transfer portal. You could argue, well, even before the transfer portal got this out of control, like, what culture did he really have as far as high school recruits sticking around there and being really good? Mixed bag results, obviously, but Brad Brownell's done fairly well over his tenure with transfers. Shelton Mitchell, Marquise Reed, Elijah Thomas, all 3 of those guys helped Clemson get to 25-10 the season that they reached the Sweet 16. Brevin Galloway transferred in from Boston College. This past year, they had Joe Girard from Syracuse and Jack Clark from NC State. So Brad's doing a fairly good job, I think, in the transfer portal, replacing what he's losing in the portal. But we got to see him get that splash. We got to see him really get a difference maker, somebody that can take it one step farther than Joe Girard did. And hopefully you don't have to get Dabo involved to get these guys to sign. Hopefully Brad Brownell can be convincing enough on his own to make it happen.
One texter says it's not Brownell's fault that tampering is unchecked by a toothless NCAA. Another texter chimes in and says that happened last year with NC State too. Texter asks, how was the Garnet and Black game? We'll get to that later on in the program. But coming up next, we will look at the weekend that was for the Atlanta Braves. A very good weekend for the Braves, taking 2 of 3. Our thoughts on that coming up next. It is hour number 2 of Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We appreciate you being locked and loaded all show long on the stream, as well as the traditional way of listening to the program.
Known as OTA.
This past weekend, the Atlanta Braves took 2 of 3 from the Rangers. So, wanted to get into this because what I saw this past weekend from the Braves was very interesting. And we talked about it on the show Friday, and had concerns. I had concerns on if Texas's lineup would all of a sudden just rocket launch out of the sky like they can at any time, because Texas lineup is so good and it's so powerful. I worried about Nate Lowe coming back, as you saw last night, him mic'd up on Sunday Night Baseball. With his return, they are a really good team. They obviously won the World Series last year, and Nate Lowe, what he brings to that team, that's what I kind of worried about. However, the Braves were able to take 2 of 3, like I said, win Friday, win Saturday. Atlanta's pitching continues to be incredible. They did not play the best yesterday down the stretch, allowed Texas to reclaim the lead and hit a couple of home runs, which, obviously not the end of the world. However, it would have been nice to get the sweep after you jumped out to a 3-0 lead. But I will say this, Diesel, I think Atlanta's in a really good spot right now. With Philly right on their tail, though, only a game and a half back in the NL East. Atlanta's in a good spot considering their injuries. I did like the fact that over the weekend when they got down, the very few innings they were down, I'm thinking early in the game on Saturday, the team plays with a lot of poise, and I thought that they would play with enough poise last night to come back and win. However, I will say this. As good as Atlanta Braves should feel right now about their team, and you can text into the program and get your thoughts in on the Braves, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. As good as a feeling as Braves fans should have right now, they better be thankful. Atlanta fans better be thankful that Marcell Ozuna is seeing the ball and playing as well as he is, because there are 3 to 4 games this year that I look back on and think, man, if it wasn't for Ozuna, the Braves probably lose that game. Even when their lineup is not at their best, Ozuna has been the key constant factor all year long. I say all year long like it's been a long year.
It's only been 20 games.
20 games in.
So Ozuna's 42 to go.
Ozuna's been just the best. And as much crap as Braves fans have given Ozuna over the last, 5 years for the DUIs and, him going through slumps, there's a lot of Braves fans that are really having, from last year to this year, a lot of Braves fans that are really having to eat crow, because there are fewer players in MLB right now, Diesel, playing better than Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, I look at a guy like Travis d'Arnaud and what he did on both Friday and Saturday. I mean, this dude is absolutely tattooing the ball. In this series, Travis d'Arnaud had 4 home runs. Did he hit one yesterday?
No.
I don't think so, no. So he had 4 home runs, 3 homers on Friday, 3 for 4 with 3 homers, 6 RBIs in the game. He scored 3 himself. And then on Saturday, he had a home run, a double, hit by a pitch, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs. Travis d'Arnaud is playing insanely good baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at a guy like him as, kind of the all-star at the moment, one of probably 10 that are going to come off this team this year. But hey, look at this lineup and what it's able to do night in and night out, tattooing the ball. I asked that question of our D1 baseball guest earlier in the show, Aaron Fitt, and I asked, what teams are just pounding the ball right now and don't really see a chance or see in their future them dropping off. And you got to look at the Atlanta Braves as a team like that right now, who just everybody's seeing the ball well. If anybody drops off for an evening, everybody else around him is going to be able to pick them up.
What I will go back to on Friday night, you brought it up, the 3 home runs, and one of them was a grand slam by d'Arnaud. I want to go back to that game because it was very interesting, and I was having a conversation with a couple of buddies who were Braves fans over the weekend. that game Friday night was so interesting in the sense of Bruce Bochy had to make a really tough decision. And, you know, with the bases loaded there, Darno already had hit 2 home runs, and it's tied 3-3. Texas is playing really good. There's the last inning before that, it kind of felt like Texas was getting some momentum. So it's tied 3-3. Darno's at the plate. He'd already hit 2, like I said, and then all of a sudden, Bruce Bochy has a huge decision. So Bruce Bochy now has to decide whether he's going to allow the hottest player on the team that night, Darno, to have a chance at another home run, or if he's going to walk a run in. And I know there's a lot of people out there who will, the baseball guy that says, oh, you should never want to walk a guy in. But, you know, sitting there Friday night, I was thinking that Bruce Bochy may walk this guy. He may want to walk Darno in, or walk Darno and allow a run to come in. And then all of a sudden, a few pitches later, boom, grand slam, and the game's over.
Yeah, that's a 5-3 game. If you make that decision to just go ahead and walk him in, who knows obviously what happens after that. I don't know what how many outs there were at the time on that home run, but that's a 5-6 game. Actually, not 5-6. It would be 4-3 because they picked up one more down the stretch in the 8th. But I think now sometimes you just got to tip your hat and know when somebody's playing hot and just say, you know what, giving up 1 is better than giving up 4.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking. That I was surprised that Bochy, as good as a coach as he is, probably one of the best in the business, didn't do that. Again, I know that it's risky because, you know, the way I look at it is if you're in that situation and you have to, if it's a tie game, okay, well, the worst thing that could happen is this guy hits a grand slam and the game's over. Right, that's the absolute worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, you were tied. They were tied at the time.
It was 3-3. The best thing that could happen is you walk a run in. It's 4-3. Then you get out of it and you give up 1 run. You're still in the game. You know, it was the 6th inning when that happened. You still have 3 innings left. So you know the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario doesn't always work.
There were 2 outs at the time.
Yeah, so you had a chance. I mean, you had a chance, and. You know, again, you risk throwing to a guy that's already hit 2. I think that's an incredible, risky move by Bruce. I really was surprised that he did that.
I don't see him making that move like later down the stretch, you know, when things are getting tight, when the race is getting real. I mean, you can take that risk early in the season when you're 20 games in, and it's not really going to hurt you down the line. But obviously, that's one of those, like, if it works out in your favor, you look like a genius.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, if Travis d'Arnaud gets a hold of number 3 for the game and puts 4 on the board, then you look like an idiot.
Texter says, Cole, that's how baseball works. Winning teams just find ways to, thanks to hot players. Absolutely. You're right. I mean, you know, luckily the Braves have a stacked enough lineup to where whenever guys do get in slumps, they can hit their way out of it because of, you know, how stacked the lineup is. Now, the Braves did not have 2 of their starters last night in Game 3. No d'Arnaud and no Duvall, but still a pretty good lineup. I agree with you, Texter. It's a great problem to have for Atlanta Braves. Another Texter says, Ozuna doesn't erase the blunders, mistakes, and disappearing acts from the last few years with 20 games this year. Well, Texter, I'm not saying he did, but he had a good year last year. Ozuna had a good year last year, and all I've heard from Braves fans since Ozuna's been a Brave is how they go back and look on Twitter. If you really want to dive into this, of how many Braves fans wanted Ozuna gone 3-4 years ago. And again, you can say, well, then they had a case for him, you know, to be gone. But you give credit. I give credit to this organization for sticking with a guy like Ozuna through some, thick and thin, if you want to call it thick and thin, that's fine. But through some rough patches, they stuck with him. And he had a good it wasn't just this year. I mean, he had a really good year last year. 20 games this year. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think he's seeing the ball as good as anybody on the team. And, whether you like him or not, it doesn't erase the fact of the matter is it doesn't change the fact that the Braves fans wanted him gone.
Well, you got to think at the moment he's doing all right by you, Braves fans. 338, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs. He's hitting the ball really well through 20 games in the season. So I wouldn't throw that baby out with the bathwater either at this point.
I've always liked him. Maybe I just had hope and faith that he was going to turn out all right. I've always liked Marcel, but I think that the Braves, like I said, they took a chance on the guy, and he's playing really well. Trey says Travis d'Arnaud is one of my favorite active players. He's type 1 diabetic like me and wears an insulin pump. I did not know that. Thank you for the random fact of the day. Always good to know that.
A lot of those coming in hot with the stats and info.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fans wanted Ozuna gone, was also based on the amount of money he was making. They thought it could be better spent somewhere, spent elsewhere, says a texter. 71307, start your text with the word fan. I hear you. And again, at the time, I just remember this. The Atlanta Braves wanted Ozuna gone, and then they won a championship the next year. Ozuna hasn't been an MVP every year he's been in Atlanta. I'm not saying he has. But I'm just saying there's a lot of teams in the MLB that would love to have Marcell Ozuna on their staff.
The Braves are the hottest hitting team in baseball. They are scoring at nearly half a run more than the second place team in Major League Baseball.
They're killing it, man.
Atlanta scoring on average 6.25 runs per game. Baltimore 5.8. Milwaukee and Arizona tied for third with 5.7 runs per game. And even that number, if you just look back at the last 10 games, it's even higher for the Braves. So they are getting hot at a good time. 6.8 runs per game over the last 10. That is skewed by 10 games ago. First game in this window that I looked at, they scored 16, and they followed that up on April 13th with just 1 run against the Marlins. So, I mean, they are a team that can really, really put up a lot of runs.
Ozuna in his first year in Atlanta averaged 338. His second year in 2021 averaged 213, 226 the next year, 274 last year, which is a good year, and then he's averaging 338 in the 20 games that he's played this year. So you can look at 2021 and say, oh, he was not worth the money in 2021. Other than that, you don't have much legs to convince me. 2021 was not a good year for Ozuna. It was not. But he is getting older, and he played 5-6 years with Miami, a couple with the Cardinals, and I think, to be honest with you, I really do think that even though he came into the league playing really well, I think he's settling in now, man. I don't want to say he's playing his best baseball of his career, but he seems as if he's starting to settle in. They're a lot of fun to watch right now, though.
They are. Cole, speaking of settling in, that's something we don't have the luxury of doing this week because you and I are going to be on the road twice this week. On Wednesday, we're going to be live at Ingles Markets, 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont. We want all the Tolos down there in Piedmont to come see us. We'll be right there inside the Corner Cafe at Ingles Markets doing the show on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we're going to be live at Dave & Buster's on Woodruff Road in Greenville for our Draft Day live show. You and I will be there. Rob Brown from the Rob Brown Show will be popping in from time to time on that day. Some big name guests already lined up. We're just going to keep building this thing, get it bigger and bigger every single day leading up to it. So we want to see all you Tolos out at both of these events. You guys don't realize how important it is for the clients to see you supporting us, supporting them.
To go back to the Braves for a second, Bryce Elder has been called up. So as a lot of Braves fans expected, Bryce Elder did get called up. There was a little concern if he would get called up yesterday or Saturday. He ends up getting called up yesterday, and Lopez is now going to stay on his Tuesday schedule. So Bryce Elder will get the start tonight for the Atlanta Braves as they host Miami. So the next 3 games, I talked about it Friday. You didn't see Max Fried for the Atlanta Braves this past weekend, but you will see Bryce Elder tonight. Tomorrow night at 7:20, you'll see Max. So, and then let's see, Wednesday should be Ronaldo again, and it is. So you have a good chance for the next 3 days to play really well behind some really stud starting pitching. Reynaldo Lopez is starting to play really well. Listen, the baseball season, as we say all the time, it's a long, long year. It's a long season, and we're almost a 10th of the way through. We're not even a 10th of the way through right now, which is crazy to think about. But, you want to start off well if you're Atlanta so that, when you can get to the summer, maybe you have to ride a wave, maybe you have to ride a slump a little bit. But right now, you're playing well. And the Phillies are playing well. They're trailing you. They're right behind you, not many games back. So it'll be interesting to see if Philadelphia continues to play well. Philly's been Atlanta's kryptonite, if you will, the last few years in the postseason. But, hey, maybe for Braves fans, you don't want to win the division this year. Maybe
not to put this thought in Braves fans' heads, Cole, because it is an unattainable number. But as of right now, through 20 games, given their win percentage now, and the fact that they've done it against some tough competition to this point, the Braves are on track to win 113 games this year,
which is
huge.
That's massive. That'll be the best record in baseball by probably, I'd say, if they won 113, that would probably be the best record in baseball by
10 games.
I was going to say 10 or so games.
Yeah. Well, it's good to bring Elder up and rest some of these starters just a little bit more. Obviously, with Strider being out, and Cole, I heard a little bit about what's going on with Spencer Strider's elbow. They talked about it being just a bone spur that didn't start out as a bone spur. It wasn't a chipped bone or anything. It was just a little spot that calcified and grew. And then eventually that little bone spur that it developed into a bone spur just broke free. And that's what was causing the issue there in his elbow. And obviously that's going to take him out for a good long time. They need arms to come up and help out and keep this staff as fresh as they can, because as of right now, there's no immediate rumors of adding another pitcher to this starting rotation. So they're going to need to lean on some of these AAA guys that they can pull up.
Yeah, they're going to have guys show up. I'll say this, though, before we put a bow on the Braves. I loved what I saw last year from Bryce Elder. I think that Bryce Elder is a guy that gives you a lot of different options. And I think that Atlanta, the spot that they're in, I think they're in a really good spot. I don't want to say if you have to lose a guy like Strider, but for a franchise to lose, arguably their ace, their 1B guy, this franchise is set up to do it better than any other franchise because of their farm system, because of the prospects they have, because of guys like Bryce Elder and Reynaldo Lopez, who, a lot of people had questions about coming into the season. But if, knock on wood, if there was a franchise that had to lose their pitcher and still survive, I think Atlanta's set up in a really good position, Diesel. I mean, again, I go back to 2021. You won the World Series without Ronald Acuna Jr., so it can be done. You don't want to lose them, but like you said, next man up.
Cole, when we come back, we're going to do a new segment. It's not new in the sense that it's never been done in radio before. Everything's been done in radio before, but it's new to us. We've never done an Overreaction Monday segment. I've got some reactions. You've got some reactions. We want to hear from you, Tolos, as well, whether you're watching on the stream, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Drop a comment. Let us know your biggest reactions, overreactions to what you saw across any sport or anything in general, life in general, okay? We want your reactions to all of that stuff, and we're going to get to it next here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate.
Whoops. All right, we're coming in hot.
It's Overreaction Monday. Cole, the sky is falling. Cats and dogs are living together. What are we going to do? Oh, man. I love
There's nothing
fans
better.
on social media losing it over what they see in a spring game. Like, it's a dress rehearsal, man. This is not real football, which is another reason why I advocate for an actual opponent on the other side of the ball in a spring game. It doesn't have to be a full spring game, like a game. You can still set it up with situations and do whatever you want to do. But
you got to love overreaction, though.
Yeah, I do.
It's the best.
I saw some fantastic overreactions on Twitter this weekend from South Carolina's spring game. Mongo, who I follow on Twitter, who is never a dull follow, he was tweeting about some of the Gamecock overreactions. I don't think he, off the top of my head, I don't think he had any major, massive, groundbreaking overreactions, but he was going after the Angry Birds, Cole. That's what we call the really upset bottom end of the South Carolina fan base. And they were really, really up in arms about just how, quote unquote, vanilla South Carolina's offense looked in a spring game.
Yeah, a lot of our listeners
were.
Like,
it's a spring game, guys.
I thought JD was going to jump off a cliff. I mean, I really did.
It's a spring game. It's not a real game.
Me and JD were tweeting about it all the way as I was driving all the way back home from the spring game.
That's not safe. You were tweeting while driving?
Well, he was tweeting. I was driving and not tweeting. And
did you guys ride together?
No, negative. I went solo. But no, JD and I were having a fun conversation. Same thing. Why was it so vanilla? Why too vanilla? Great overreaction. I'm glad they said it because it makes this segment great, right?
What do you want them to do? Show off all the trick plays in the spring game so that everyone has film on it?
Go routes, 95-yard go routes, 55-yard deep post routes. I mean, just chunk it. I don't know. But that's a great, wasn't my overreaction. It's a greater overreaction. I saw plenty of it.
Again,
I have a few, though.
Spring game, guys. It's a glorified practice. It's a scrimmage. Everything is scripted out. And you guys are looking for something like, how do we think Lenora Sellers is going to be able to throw the deep ball over the DB's heads when they play against Kentucky?
Yeah. And real quick note.
They're just trying to make sure they can get their helmet straps put on right.
5:20, I'll give you my full thoughts on the spring game.
Yes. So, I watched the spring game, and my first overreaction is that Lenora Sellers was decent throwing the football, but Robbie Ashford, man, he looked good with his legs. He looked good. I mean, Lenora Sellers took a lot of sacks in that game. And so one overreaction could be to say, and I genuinely, before you guys get mad, I know you're already getting your phones out. How can we type this out? Robbie Ashford is not going to replace Lenora Sellers. He is QB1. But he is a far more dynamic runner and far more has far much more escape skills to get out of sacks than Lenora Sellers does.
I don't know. I thought Lenore's touchdown run was pretty nice.
It's a touchdown in a spring game.
But you said Robbie's runs were nice though.
They were nice, but
a spring game.
But yes, but. They also looked at that. I remember the play-by-play guys on Lenora Sellers' touchdown saying, "Oh, that might have been a sack. That might have been a sack."
There were a lot of might have been.
It's like Lenora's got past the line of scrimmage, and then everybody's like, "Okay, let him go. You can't touch him." Like nobody's gonna touch him, right?
Yeah,
nobody's gonna take him down. So like that's how a 5-yard run turns into a 40-yard run.
So that's one of your overreactions.
Stephen Webb says, "Fire Shane Beamer."
That's definitely Stephen, that's definitely a good overreaction for a spring game. But yes, great overreaction. So the point is of the segment, send your overreactions. Diesel's telling you one of his. He has a couple more. I have a few as well. Send your overreactions. Fire Shane Beamer may be a little overreaction, a little over the top. But let us know what you think on the stream. I think
you should fire him because he didn't go over and shake Dawn Staley's hand.
Yeah,
she was on the field. She was getting all the adulation from the crowd. He could have gone over and given her a hug. The fans would have loved it.
71307. Send your overreaction to us by text as well.
I'm just glad he didn't scream, "Get off the field."
Phone lines open, 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663. So, Diesel, what's another one you got?
Another one is that the Atlanta Braves are going to win 100-plus games. Lock it up.
It's good. That's a good one.
Possible. It's very possible.
Yeah.
And they are playing excellent baseball. We just spent an entire segment talking about it. It's fascinating to me, Cole, that you and I are both kind of looking at this team almost a little bit down, thinking like, all right, when is the shoe going to drop? When is the rotation going to get worn out? When is the production going to fall off? I mean, they're tattooing the ball right now. They're playing phenomenal baseball, best baseball in the league right now. But we kind of look at it like, yeah, but like how long? How long is this going to last?
Sure.
So, but hey, again, right now they're playing great. They're on track, statistically speaking, at least, to win 113 games this year. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. But like, hey, the whole point in baseball
They're
is
on pace.
The whole point in the whole point in baseball is to win series, right? Just win 2 out of 3. That's all you got to do.
All right. My first overreaction, Diesel, is this plays off of what we talked about on Friday with Cam Scott. My first overreaction is South Carolina will make a deeper run in basketball in 2025 than Clemson will. I think South Carolina goes further, even though Clemson got a couple of guys over the weekend. I think what South Carolina's done, what Lamont Paris has done with Cam Scott, that's overreaction. It's mine, but it's overreaction. South Carolina's going to make a deeper run. They're going to be a better team next year than Clemson.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, Clemson seems to be in the portal at least doing a pretty decent job of adding experience, and that's what matters, right? You get decent enough guys out of high school at Clemson. You're getting great guys out of high school at South Carolina. We haven't really tracked too much what's going on in the transfer portal for South Carolina right now, as far as any major pieces that they've added via the portal. But I think Brad's doing a better job in the portal. Lamont Paris is doing a better job with high school recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
And any of these things can shift and move on a daily basis. Right?
It could. I just think that, again, these are overreactions. They may make sense, they may not. But I just think that what Lamont did with signing Cam Scott, I think it's going to be huge, man. I really do.
Spur Daddy says, "Oh my God, Sellers runs like a deer." That's my overreaction from the spring game. They got sacked.
That's a good overreaction. That's a good one.
You saw that, right? They kept calling sacks a lot. I loved the conversation with Shane Beamer being mic'd up the entire time.
Yeah,
and they were talking, and especially right after halftime, they talked to him about some of these offensive linemen having a big problem with the sacks that they were calling.
Sure.
Like, hey, leave no doubt, guys. Just leave no doubt.
Yeah, he talked about that post game too.
Yeah,
there were probably more, and again, I'll get into it more at 5:20, but there were a lot of sacks that didn't get called. Also, another overreaction from me. NASCAR ratings are fixing to soar with Michael Jordan's 2311 team getting a win yesterday. I think that Michael Jordan, again, this overreaction, I think that what I saw yesterday with the way that Michael and his team were celebrating, I think that is so badly, Diesel, what the sport of NASCAR needs. Because Michael, let's be honest, it doesn't get any bigger than Michael Jordan, right? There's no bigger face in sports. It doesn't matter what sport it is. And the way that he celebrated with his team and the interaction after the win yesterday for Tyler Reddick, I think that, again, I could be wrong, but I think you'll see NASCAR ratings mid-year. They switch over here soon in a month or two from Fox to NBC because the deal's split between the two TV providers. But I think you'll see NASCAR ratings skyrocket because of Michael Jordan. I really do.
That's interesting. And I do wonder how many fans will NASCAR gain? Like new fans, never watched NASCAR before.
Yeah.
Because they know the Jordan brand. I mean, the Jordan brand is growing so rapidly. It's on football teams, obviously.
It's everywhere.
Football teams are wearing it. Teams that you would never expect to be wearing Jordan are wearing Jordan. It's everywhere. Kids recognize the logo and they know the name Jordan, but I'm not sure they know, really how good Michael Jordan actually was. Are they going back and they watching game film? Probably not. I mean, they probably hear stories. It's like us as kids, Cole. Like, we heard stories about how good Wilt Chamberlain was or how good Magic Johnson was. Like, I wasn't alive or cognizant of the NBA when those guys were playing. So, I mean, you can tell me that, and I can look at the stat sheet, and that's great. But I do wonder how many fans are going to come to NASCAR.
It's a good question.
Because of Jordan.
I think a lot.
I think maybe he'll sell some sneakers among the NASCAR crowd.
I think he'll get a lot of fans. I think they'll get a lot of
fans.
Yeah, I really do. I think his brand is that strong, man. I really do. I think it's powerful.
Oh, this is Madcraft. Madcraft, this is a big overreaction. He says if Scotty Scheffler was playing in the early 2000s, Tiger wouldn't be a thing.
I love it. Great overreaction, Madcraft. You win.
Oh my God.
Listen, what Scotty Scheffler is doing right now, stupid, right? It's unreal.
Maybe if you're saying like, see, this is mad. This is why it's an uncomparable thing, right? Equipment has changed dramatically because of and since Tiger Woods played, right? They were playing with sticks and cue balls before Tiger Woods came along.
Yeah.
They were playing with woods and irons. And Tiger came around and changed that and, made so many changes to the game that Scotty Scheffler has benefited from, right? It's 25 plus years of development R&D since then. Like, it's nuts to me what these clubs can do, how much straighter these clubs hit the ball. Like, I watch some YouTube videos about golf because I want to try to get better at golf. And there's all these, draw corrections and slice correcting clubs. And I mean, there's those silly ones that you just like set it behind the ball and it's got a little, you put a blank in it, like a bullet in it, and it just fires a piston and hits the ball. That's a legal club, I know. But like the game has changed because of Tiger, and Scotty Scheffler has benefited from it.
Everybody will.
Like, if you're saying that you giving me 20, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old Tiger playing with 2024 equipment, he would blow Scotty Scheffler out of the water.
It's a good overreaction. Hurricane Jeff on the text line says professional wrestling is the greatest sport in the world. That is my overreaction. Yeah, okay, Jeff.
Because
good
of
one.
why, Jeff?
Good. What happened over the weekend?
Yeah, what happened, Jeff?
Steven says, my overreaction is, OMG, there was a national champion coach in Willie B. Little rhyme there by Steven. Steven, surely he's not a Clemson fan. One texter, Diesel, says, the fan, if you can't compare Tiger and Scotty, then you can't. Let me click on the text to see
you
if
can't
there's.
Compare Chipper to Austin from the Braves. Different eras. It's true. I mean, the guys are throwing differently. Pitchers are throwing harder. Obviously, there's the changes like the rule, the pitch clock, and the bases being a little bit bigger. I mean, the bats are still made out of the same wood, right?
Yeah, I still think you can.
Baseball's maybe a little bit different. I think baseball is maybe something that's slightly more comparable era to era, but why can't we just appreciate things and say, in this era, this guy was.
Well, we can, phenomenal. But there wouldn't be good sports radio topics.
But yeah,
this is the entertainment business now. I mean, come on, we got to get a little entertainment.
The thing is, like the game of basketball, outside of the way it's called on the court by referees, the game of basketball hasn't changed. Ball's still the same size, rim is still the same size, it's still the same height, 3-point line is still the same 3-point line. That's probably one of the least tinkered with and tampered with sports out there, equipment wise and rules wise.
Yeah.
Now the referees, they've changed everything. I remember when I was a kid watching games that were like scoring the 80s and 90s. Now they're scoring in like the 130s and 40s. I'm like, what's the point? No defense.
Trey says the Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson match last night is the greatest wrestling match of all time. I have no idea what you're talking about, Trey.
The greatest grown men in underwear performing a predetermined outcome.
No, I did watch Ryan Garcia the other night against Haney.
I saw a tweet earlier, Cole, that had me messed up, man. It was about this. Whatever, adult pretender match this texter is talking about. A tweet came out from somebody named Trevor Dame. Doesn't matter who he is. It's no disrespect to Trevor. But he says, one of the only advantages of getting older is I have now seen multiple generations, which means I can tell you that Danielson is more than a generational talent because some generations you don't even get one of him. And there was no context of what.
Is this WWE?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
There's no context of what he was talking about. Right?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Danielson could be literally anyone. But I read that, Cole, as Danielson, like from Karate Kid.
Oh, Danielson.
I was like, at my age,
yeah.
I read
No,
this
I would
as
understand that too.
Danielson, like Daniel LaRusso was a generational talent and nobody could touch him. Like, what do you mean? Like he lifts weights and has a more.
He's a strong
body?
guy, yeah, strong guy.
Because other than that, guys, it's all predetermined.
Did you watch Ryan Garcia the other night? What knock out Devin Haney?
No,
I don't know. I'm not a huge boxing guy, but I'll say this: that was as entertaining. For whatever reason, the world hates Ryan Garcia, and he's a young guy, professional boxer, and you know we live in a world where you're supposed to hate young boxers, but Ryan Garcia the other night, man, he's 25 years old. He just absolutely put on a show and made a laughing joke of Devin Haney. It was great. It was fantastic. That's real fighting. I'm all for it. I can watch boxing. You know,
Texter says Tiger was using Nike clubs forever, which were inferior. Nike tried hard to be in the game of golf, and put out bad equipment, which Tiger would have won a lot more tournaments if he would have played with other clubs. That is true, Texter. Everybody knows that Tiger was playing with garbage clubs, that Nike was giving him garbage clubs. Could you imagine? Tiger Woods with modern clubs? He would have tattooed the ball in a way that nobody else could hit the ball.
To go back to your point, I think the overreaction that was sitting on the stream, I hope, and I think Diesel, it was a joke. But to go back to your point, nobody will ever. We're not ever saying that somebody will ever follow in the footsteps of Tiger. But if you can't appreciate what Scotty's doing right now, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the dude's just lighting it up.
I'll bet you that there is a way, and maybe we should ask this question of Kelly Ford, our occasional analytics guest, who he analyzes college football, right? But I just want to ask him as a general analytics guy question. Like, are there models that could predict what Tiger Woods would have been able to do with modern clubs? Like, if they know that modern clubs hit 20 yards farther and have a higher spin rate,
I don't know
this, that, and the other, isn't there a way to run some advanced analytics and find out how Tiger, or estimate at least what Tiger would have done with modern clubs, modern equipment?
That's a good question. That
would be interesting to find out.
It would be interesting. I just don't know how they would calculate. I'm trying to think. How would they actually be able to calculate? I don't think it'd be possible, right?
They can look at, trust me, they have the data to show, the average distances of drives now versus then. So that's one way. They can look at the spin rates of balls coming off of clubs then versus now.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think you could analyze that and have a fair estimation.
Texter says Tiger once ditched his Nike driver and put a 10-year-old Titleist back drive in the drive back in the bag. Here's this before we hit a break. Diesel, I don't know if you saw this or not. Tiger Woods in the 2000 season, one of his most, electric years of his career, 2000. He earned $10,703,000. Do you know what those winnings would have paid in 2024? Same wins, same golf wins, same tournaments.
I'm going to guess and say that would be north of 50.
$92 million and $333,000.
I'm going to have to drive up to Hickory, North Carolina and slap my mama in the face for not starting me in golf at a younger age. Mom,
10 million, man. 10 million in 2000. 92 and 24.
I could come in 30th and have a great career.
That's what he would have made. That is sickening. I mean, he's still well off.
And you know why it's $90 million now compared to $10 million then?
Why's that?
Tiger Woods.
Sure. Has a lot to do with it. That's wild, man. That's absolutely wild. That's a lot of money. He'd be mega rich if he were playing or winning that way now. All right, next up is our Daily Wires. Those are our headlines on the program that are happening right now, that happened over the weekend, the hottest things going on, the buzz that you need to know about. Next on Wire to Wire, he's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. It's time to get you caught up on the Daily Wires, the buzz, as we like to say. That's a great sound effect. Diesel implemented into the program. I can't do one as good as that.
I got a good Donald Trump, and I got a good electric sound effect.
A little buzz. A ton to get to from over the weekend. We appreciate you being a part of the program, Wire to Wire. Diesel, he's Diesel. If you just tuned in for the very first time, we appreciate you doing so. I'm Cole Bryson. Clemson took 2 of 3 over the weekend from Pitt. Pretty good weekend for the Tigers, except for the fact that they lose another starter. We'll get to that in a second, but they won 6-4 on Friday, 8-4 loss on Saturday in game 1. They come back, bounce back in game 2, win 9-2, and then the news breaks that Will Taylor, another starter, outfielder, broke a bone in his hand, Diesel, and is out for the season. How many Clemson players are they going to lose? Is Bakich going to lose this year?
So let me ask you a question, Cole. Is it considered generally disadvantageous to keep losing starters?
You'd think so.
Okay, so I mean, maybe they should stop doing that. I don't know. If it's I'm no baseball strategist.
Yeah,
I kind of went Arnold Schwarzenegger there for a second.
It's definitely not good.
No, it's not.
And man, that's a tough one. Will Taylor out, Chufa done for the season. I don't know that Will's going to come back in time for conference. Bakich said he could be back in time for ACC, but that's a stretch. I don't see that happening. South Carolina baseball, and I was getting into a friendly debate with JD on the stream earlier in the show. They dropped 2 of 3 to Arkansas over the weekend. Yeah, you think, oh, they dropped 2 of 3, not a good weekend. And sure, it's not. They lost 2-1 on Friday. They lost 9-6 in game 2 on Saturday, won 6-3 in game 1 on Saturday. But Diesel, South Carolina played well. It was a number 2 team in the country in Arkansas, and they just didn't play well enough to beat almost the best team in the country. Still a really good performance and outing, especially Friday. I was talking to a lot of media members Saturday night at the spring game, and everybody was just kind of down on the fact that they lost Friday night and had that game. I mean, it was 2-1 final score, and they left 11 guys on, and they just couldn't hit the ball. Pitched well. They're pitching right now. South Carolina's pitching the ball as good as anyone. They just can't hit the ball. So
when you're playing number 2, number 2 team in the country, and they were in Columbia, correct?
Yes.
I'm not shocked that you lose. You lose 2 of those games.
No, I'm not either.
That's not a surprise.
They played well, though. They did.
At least you didn't get swept.
I think the team's going to be okay. Listen, what South Carolina fans have to realize is, like, this stretch they're in right now is brutal. They have number 3 team Kentucky this weekend. It's a brutal stretch for them. So they did drop 2 of 3. The Braves took 2 of 3 from Texas, 8-3 Friday, 5-2 win Saturday, and then they lost last night, did the Atlanta Braves. South Carolina men's basketball lands former 4-star forward Jordan Butler from Missouri. Butler went to Christ Church High School right here in Greenville. So coming back home to his home state. Clemson, we talked about it earlier, Diesel. They landed 2 transfers this weekend. Boston College transfer guard Jaden Zachary and Victor Lakin from Cincinnati. So a big weekend for both Clemson and South Carolina. Tyler Reddick got the win yesterday at Talladega. I wasn't happy. I lost some earnings on that race because of Michael McDowell spinning out in turn 4. Very frustrating race for me to watch, but Tyler Reddick did get the win. First win of the season for Team 2311 with MJ and Denny Hamlin. Hamlin did not have a great day yesterday as a driver, but he did as a car owner. So,
how'd you bet on that, Cole? It's illegal to bet.
Yeah, it was a friendly wager.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just between friends.
Sure.
Like an offline.
Sure. His friend, he is a friend of mine.
Okay.
Atlanta's back in action tonight. They host Miami. Bryce Elder getting his first start of the season. And lastly, this morning, Scotty Scheffler wrapped it up at the RBC Heritage, taking home just a measly $3.6 million.
We were talking about finances there, and you said that 1 year in 2020, what was it, year 2000?
Yeah.
Tiger Woods won $10 million, which would have been the equivalent of $90 million today if he had those same results. Texter says Tiger is worth $1.3 billion. I think he's doing okay. It's true, but if you're worth $1.3 billion, you want to be worth 1.4.
Sure. No, I mean, he is doing okay. There's no doubt. All right. We will get to the phones. We do have some callers waiting.
We will. Cole, let me go ahead and let you take this phone call.
Okay.
And I will let people know that coming up next, we have the 5 o'clock fight. And shout out to Madcraft, who suggested a 5 o'clock fight. Not going to be on the show today, Madcraft, because we were already stacked up and ready to go on that one. We'll do it tomorrow.
I like it.
Possibly on the show. We're going to talk a lot about the Caleb Williams story. That's going to be later on in the show as well. But again, when we come back, the 5 o'clock fight, Cole and I have to disagree on 3 different topics. You decide who won the whole fight overall. That's next here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Some breaking news from the soap opera that is Florida State v. the ACC. This just came out about 15 minutes ago, reported by the Associated Press. Quote, a Tallahassee judge has ordered Florida State and the Atlantic Coast Conference to enter mediation in hopes of settling a high-profile lawsuit that could dramatically impact the future of the league. Judge John C. Cooper technically approved the ACC's motion to dismiss Monday, but gave FSU 7 days to amend its complaint before the university needs more specificity regarding key facts in a case that he said, quote, is worth up to $500 million. The conference would have 20 days to respond afterwards, and another hearing would be set. Cooper ordered the sides to begin mediation within 120 days, but a mediator cannot force an agreement, so the case could end up back in court. From Judge Cooper, quote, I send every case to mediation except mortgage foreclosures. This is not being done any differently. So it seems as if, Cole, as this thing continues to develop and change, that we're ultimately angling towards a settlement between Florida State and the ACC.
Also breaking right before we went on the air, Zach Wilson, former Jets quarterback, has been traded to the Denver Broncos. So a little bit of two-piece breaking news here on the Monday.
Well, if that's your two-piece, here's the biscuit.
All right.
It's time, Cole, for you and I to spar, to go head-to-head, to fight it out, but you and I will not be having an underwear-clad stare down. We just use our words. It's time for the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
This is what we do each and every day here at 5 o'clock. You Tolos. What's a Tolo? It means turn it on, leave it on. It means you listen from the very beginning of the show to the very end of the show each and every day. Every day at 5 o'clock, Cole and I pick 3 different topics, sometimes sports, sometimes not, and we fight it out. The truth is, by rule, we have to have differing opinions, and you decide who ultimately wins each round of the fight. And how you'd let us know who wins is you text into the show, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. So here we go, Cole. Round number 1.
Round 1, fight.
Using the eye test only, who will be a better quarterback in 2024? Cade Klubnik or Lenoris Sellers?
I knew this would be a little spicy, so I had to throw it in after the spring game.
Hyper subjectivity.
Just better quarterback, better player. Who looks like the better quarterback? The eye test. I'm going to go Lenoris Sellers. I think Lenoris Sellers in 2024 looks like, to those watching, to you and I, to the fans, to the media, and to the nation, I think Lenoris Sellers looks like the better quarterback. I think he has a better skill set, and I think he will have, again, statistically, we know that one's the SEC and one's the ACC, so it's not really fair to do that game. But I think Lenoris Sellers will be the better quarterback in 2024. I like, from everything I've seen, I like what I've seen so far.
With another year in Garrett Riley's system, with an easy schedule, Cade Klubnik's going to shine this year. He'll still have the same dumb mistakes that he had last year, right? We're going to see those. Probably not as many of them. But I'm not going to call Cade Klubnik a world beater. He ain't going to be a world beater. Like, Cade Klubnik is not going to go out and win you a whole lot of games this year against similar level competition. Opposed to that, Lenoris Sellers is going to get his you-know-what beat up in the SEC. So the SEC has a tendency, Cole, to make good quarterbacks look bad, and the ACC has a way of making average quarterbacks look pretty good. And I think, truthfully, that's where we're going to be.
I hear you. I really do. The ACC and SEC, there's no comparison there, but I just think that Lenore has an edge to him, man. And I could be wrong, but I think in 2024, you will see Lenoris Sellers with a really nice edge, playing with something to prove, and I think you'll see that. Let
But
us
he
know
runs
what.
like a deer, says Spurdy.
That's right. Let us know what you think each round. 71307.
Here we go, round 2.
Round 2. Fight.
This might be one of the more divisive conversations that we could have on this show, Cole. It comes down to Clemson versus South Carolina, mayonnaise versus everything else, boiled peanuts versus roasted peanuts.
This shouldn't be even on the. This should just take it off. There's no conversation here. There's no debate here.
You better say the
there is
one that I
no,
want to hear, or I will come across this table.
There is no debate. I don't even know why we're debating this. Everybody knows that boiled peanuts are far superior. They're juicier. They have more flavor.
Slimier.
They are just the best, and there's nothing better than going and wherever you go get boiled peanuts. Filling up a big cup.
If you don't get them from some dude on the side of the road,
that's about it. The biggest cup of spicy boiled peanuts. There's nothing in the world better. Now I want some.
No, man, no. I have tried regular boiled peanuts. I've tried Cajun boiled peanuts. I've tried flavored with this, flavored with that, and it comes down to the same thing every single time, Cole. They're slimy and gross.
They're good.
They're slimy and gross. Not doing it. Dry roasted peanuts are the best. They are the best, it's kind of like, to me, a dry roasted peanut's kind of like a fidget spinner, right? Like I could sit and eat a whole bag, like at a ball game, eat the whole bag of boiled peanuts. I don't even want to know how much salt that is that I'm consuming. I don't care because it's fantastic.
Sure.
But it gives me something to do with my hands. I love cracking the shell open and just watching it split right down the middle. There's just something about it, man. It's just better. The dry roasted is the way to go. But I also always, Cole, remove I guess it's called the skin, that little papery wrapping that's around the peanut itself. I always remove that.
What?
Yeah, I remove that.
Why?
Because I don't like it in my mouth.
I've never done that before. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it's my thing. It's what I do.
That takes forever, though.
You know what? You got to have an exercise in patience every now and again. I say roasted peanuts. Cole says boiled peanuts. Who wins round 2? 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. If you've got us at a tie, this one should break it, Cole. Round 3.
Final round. Fight.
How do you feel about ties on Sunday games in college baseball? I watched it happen over the weekend. My team played Arkansas State on the road in Arkansas, and they agreed to a tie after 10 innings to accommodate App State's travel back to Boone. Should the NCAA allow ties in baseball?
So I'll say this. The answer is yes. And the reason is just don't suck. Be better. Hit the ball harder and you won't have to worry about it.
You hate more baseball?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do. Don't suck as bad.
It's 12-12 going into the 10th.
God. No pitching?
None. Well, going into the 10th. But ties are lame, man. They should find a way to accommodate travel. I mean, it was one extra inning.
Yeah.
You're telling me that they scheduled travel so tight that they couldn't get in a second extra inning? They couldn't go to the 11th after 10. They're like, guys, we got to go. Wheels up in 30. Like, come on, man. Ties are lame. They should find a way to outlaw them. They should find a way to accommodate teams if they need to, catch a later flight. Ties are lame, dude. Like, nobody wants to see those. I feel like I've been cheated watching a full 10-inning game only to have it end in a tie. I think it's lame. The NCAA should ban ties in baseball.
All right. Let us know who won today's 5 o'clock fight. 71307. Also, you can chime in on the phone line, the Renewal by Anderson phone line. We already have a couple of callers lined up. That's 844.
A lot of messages coming in on this too.
844 fan phone. That's 844-326-3663.
What do you want Diesel and Co. Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
Cole, I got into a little fight with my dog today. If you guys are watching on the stream, I'm going to lean in just a little bit. Maybe you've seen this. I got this scar down my face. It looks kind of badass. in a way. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good, but I got punched in the eye by my 75.
I thought that was from our IT
this
guy.
morning. He was being sweet. He was being cuddly until he wasn't. And then, man, he just starts flailing and he just scrapes down.
Yeah.
I feel like though I look like Kano from Mortal Kombat.
He does have he's strong. You got to
the dog or
the dog. Your dog.
He is.
Your dog.
He is. He got me right in the eye, man. It hurts. So
I made the mistake of laying down on the floor with him, and that didn't go
that's
well.
right. I forgot that you got tackled by him too. You know full well what this dog is all about. So yes, if you want to get in a fight topic, email me diesel@thefanupstate.com. Just put the word fight as the subject line of your message. So many of these, so many comments coming in on the stream, Cole, but you said we've got callers on the line. We do. Who we got?
The one, the only. JD wants to chime in to tell me I'm right. Right, JD?
Tell me how much I kicked Cole's ass.
Well, first of all, I can't tell either one of y'all anything until I say thank you for taking my call.
Yeah. You're welcome.
All
Proceed.
right, so I wanted to make sure I got that right. Get that out of the way. Thank you for taking my call. I didn't want to forget to say grace before I had my meal or anything like that. But no, guys. So Cole, I did miss the Friday fight, so I was unaware if you were able to make it onto a win streak. But I regret to inform you, you did in fact lose today. You were there on the Lenora Sellers thing. The potential there is great. I do think he'll end up being a better quarterback than Klubnik, just from what we've seen from Klubnik already.
You should dock him around just because he says Lenore.
Come out. Do you disagree with me on that then?
No. I said you won that. You won the Lenora Sellers thing.
Okay.
And then at Diesel with the boiled peanuts. So yeah, maybe you did win today again, Cole.
You're not what JD.
He just said
you're not.
That's
gonna,
2 of 3,
you're not
JD.
dock him around because he can't even say the quarterback's name. It's Lenoris.
Yeah, but it's pronounced Lenore though. It's just the way he says it. Go ahead, JD.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, now we're splitting hairs. But here, I wanted to get in an overreaction that apparently I had over the weekend. I apparently thought it was too big a deal that the Gamecocks couldn't throw the ball over 20 yards at least one time. They didn't even run any routes at this point past 20 yards. So, yeah, my overreaction, to me, it worries me that our offense isn't creative enough that we couldn't run 2 vertical routes for like 2 plays and give away our entire offense. Like, to me, that's worrisome.
AD,
and again,
come on, man.
I'm telling you, it's my overreaction. I don't think it's too crazy for anybody to think outside the box like that. I think it's something they've gotten used to in practice. I think they are getting used to Lenora Sellers being a running quarterback. I think they're getting used to cutting their routes off short and looking back in the backfield to see where Lenora Sellers is, which granted, if it turns into a Patrick Mahomes situation and Sellers is scrambling, yes, I want those receivers checking back to look and see where they need to scramble for Mahomes to get them the ball. But to me,
can I ask you a question?
They didn't run. You could. I'm at the pharmacy though, so unfortunately I got to cut it short. And I don't get paid for my phone calls because my opinions don't mean anything.
Oh my word, JD! I just got told no. I got told no. I can't ask him a question. I wanted to ask JD if he saw the other 15 practices. Did they throw a deep ball in the other 15 practices? JD just stiffed me, man.
Love it, JD. JD also got in on the web stream and said he's a boiled peanut expert, that his uncle owns a boiled peanut company, and he'll have to get me some of the good ones.
How about JD telling you
no,
that you
JD.
won, and then as we go through,
Wait a minute.
2 is more than 1.
Maths is hard, my friend.
I gave JD a hard time over the weekend. I love JD, but I gave him a hard time because he responded to a tweet. I don't know if you saw this or not. Shane Connick, who we have on the show Friday.
I did see you two going after each other.
Shane
these
tweets
two either gonna fight each other or kiss each other.
He tweets a video out. It's a video. Shane does a selfie video of him at the track doing like a pre-race video. And JD responds to the tweet and says, "Are you at the track?" No, JD. What gave that away?
Oh, Madcraft says Diesel wins round 1. Cole wins round 2. Diesel wins round 3. There you go. 2 out of 3. Thank you, Madcraft. Trey asked, is the dog's name Shane Beamer? Because he thinks Shane Beamer is beating up on us around
that's
here.
tough.
No.
That's tough.
Madcraft says Diesel only allows winners in his house.
One texter says roasted peanuts are disgusting. Boiled peanuts are the way to go. Diesel loses all the rounds because of his one round take. Another texter, spicy boiled peanuts are the best, and I hate ties in baseball. I do agree. Spicy boiled peanuts, Cajun, you cannot beat them. Texter says, I turn on the radio and here I don't like it in my mouth. That was Diesel talking about how he takes the I don't know what you call that.
The skin.
The skin. I guess
right?
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Does anybody know? Anybody?
Shell?
JD,
Not the shell, because
you're
the
a
shell's
peanut expert.
Yeah.
You're a nut spurt. Wait.
I don't know what that either. I don't know.
What is that called? What is that called, texters? Help us out. We need the Tolos to help us out.
I usually just crack it and pour them in.
What did you say a couple of weeks ago about liking big men down low?
NC State. We were talking about
when
NC
big men go
State,
deep or
and
something?
it turned into the NC State big man inside, I think is what it was.
You Tolos are a bunch of perverts, is what it is.
They look for any opportunity, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
It's the best though, man. It's the best. That was a good 5 o'clock find today.
Yeah.
A lot of interaction on the text line as well as on the stream. All right, coming up next, we've teased it. We've hinted at it, Diesel, but we're going to get in. Full spring game reaction. I was there on Saturday night. I took a few notes and have a few more thoughts on the spring game, what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, and what you should not overreact to.
Texter says it's called a husk.
Oh,
Texter, you should hush.
That does sound right, husk. Appreciate that, Texter. Garnet and Black spring game reaction next. It is Wire to Wire. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Diesel. If you were calling during the break, I apologize. I had to step out for a second. You can call back to get on the program. 844-FAN-PHONE is the way to get in touch as we now bring in the best segment of the day.
Yes.
Not only people probably thought I was going to bring a guest in there because I did say bring in. I apologize. Now we bring up the best segment of the day. You want to talk overreaction? I did. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. We bring up the best segment of the day. The most overreaction, the most conversation from the weekend on Twitter was from the South Carolina Garnet and Black spring game. We really do look at spring games as a glorified scrimmage with people in attendance because that's what they are. Now, they do help the coaches, I'm sure, in certain areas with situational type things. So I don't think for the coach, they're as pointless as they are for the fans.
The coaches do still get quite a bit out of spring games. That's true.
Sure.
They know exactly what they're looking for. They know exactly what situations they're attempting to put their players into, and they know what they hope to see or expect to see out of them. I think we as fans should have a more difficult time really analyzing a spring game.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to analyze the spring game because that's what was this past Saturday, and that's the only football we have right now. So I was there in the press box of South Carolina covering it for the station, obviously, and there were a lot of media members that were surprised of how few South Carolina fans were there. It was not a big crowd.
Should have been a big crowd.
You would think with it being a night game, but then again, maybe people don't like the night game for a spring game because, if they're traveling from the coast or from here, they're not getting back till 12:30, 1:30 in the morning. And I don't know, maybe that's doesn't have anything to do with it, but wasn't the best crowd for the Garnet and Black spring game to start the conversation. There were a lot of people that thought it would be a lot bigger of a turnout. I think
did they announce 1,000 more than the Clemson game did?
No, a lot less, 32,500.
And ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's spring game attendance, but Clemson and South Carolina fans will argue over anything.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to Steve Fink, their SID for football, who does an incredible job. And Steve's just the best. He really is. We appreciate what he does for us and giving us the access that we have. I asked that question. Steve and I were chatting right before the spring game started, and I said, hey, let me ask you this. I said, how do universities calculate attendance for a spring game? And he said, it's just a calculated guess.
They just do
they do
look around.
They do. Well, they look at the lower bowl and say, okay, I guess the lower bowl holds 50,000. And it looks like it's 35% full. So, we can call it 32,000. That's what they do. But I'll say this. First drive of the game, Diesel, Lenore Sellers, 4 for 4. I thought he looked good. I didn't see anything in the first half because that's when the starters played. Second half, it was kind of a crapshoot in terms of not a lot of notable names being on the field. But I didn't see anything that concerned me. We talked about Clemson spring game, Cade not looking the best. I didn't see anything that concerned me from a South Carolina perspective on Saturday night. I thought the quarterback looked really good. He didn't, again, we knew going into the spring game that the play calling was going to be very vanilla. So the playbook wasn't, just out there for him to take shots down the field. I thought Lenore looked well. And I thought that the defense, which is a very veteran group on the defensive line, I thought the defense got after it. Shane Beamer talked about in the postgame press conference, Diesel, that there were a lot of sacks that weren't called. I mean, the defensive line got after it Saturday night. And, again, it's a glorified scrimmage. It is what it is. You have to realize that we're talking about a practice here, right? It's just a scrimmage with fans in attendance. But I didn't see anything that concerns me from South Carolina. I knew going in that they were going to keep it very, very vanilla.
Yeah, I mean, nothing from the ones really, really surprised me, at least from the offensive side of things. The defense did a good job collapsing the pocket, so you got to give them a little bit of credit for that. The question is always when these guys are not really going 100%, when they're kind of going more like 80, 85%, like, are these guys really getting the push, or, what's going on up there. I was impressed, and I didn't see anything that would alarm me if I'm a South Carolina Gamecock fan about Lenora Sellers. I didn't see anything that says that he gets happy feet. Oh, he sails the ball. Now, I can't say the same thing about Robbie Ashford because he does sail the ball quite a bit. He threw it over receivers' heads a couple of times that I saw. Now, he is fantastic with his feet. I mean, Robbie Ashford, if you are in a situation where you have to have a scrambling quarterback, Robbie Ashford, I think, is set up to be really good for the Gamecocks in that role this year. I don't know that we'll see them splitting reps over the course of the season, not in a design sense, at least. But if Lenora Sellers ever goes down and they have to go with Robbie Ashford, he's not going to win you a whole lot of passes or a whole lot of games in drives through the air. But with his legs, I think he is a very good quarterback. So at least you got that going for you. A backup is a backup for a reason because a part of his game is missing.
I think if
Lenore
Lenore
throw the ball very well.
I think if Lenore goes down, they're in deep trouble.
Really?
Deep trouble.
Well, in the SEC, when you got linemen and linebackers who can move, maybe so.
Shane Beamer in the post-game press conference was not ready to name Lenore the starting quarterback yet because they still have to go through their proper meetings. This is exam week. Today they started meetings with the coaches, and then they'll get to the players. So the coaches have to go through their proper meetings, and then the meetings with the players, and then they'll go through and tell the players, hey, you're going to be the backup, you're going to be the starter. So while the starting quarterback wasn't named Saturday in the post-game press conference, we all know that Sellers is the guy. There's no questioning that. I don't think that there's any hesitation. People read into things just because he didn't name a quarterback doesn't mean that there's concern, right? I think that you have to go through this week, and I think as you saw Saturday night, as you said, Diesel, he throwing the ball wasn't his strength. There's no question in anybody's mind who the starting quarterback is.
One thing, though, that did concern me, Cole, and I'd love to know if you saw this or if any of the audience saw this today, the Tolos saw this. I didn't see a whole lot of yards after contact from the running backs, and that concerned me a little bit. Again, it's hard to tell when it's a spring game and these guys may or may not be given 110%, but I either tackling was really good, in which case your defense, they're going to be bringing a lot of guys down behind the line, or the ability to break tackles was just not there.
I think
these guys were not getting out of this.
I think South Carolina's defensive front's going to be good. I really do.
Okay.
They're veteran, man. I mean, you look across the line, look at the roster all the way across the line on the defensive side of the ball, and it's a veteran group. It really is. I think the defense as a whole still has some questions that need to be answered, but I'm talking about just the defensive line. I don't know in terms of the entire unit what they'll look like, but I believe that the line will be able to generate some pass rush, and that's what you're going to have to do. Another note, Marquis Anderson, offensive lineman for South Carolina from Dorman right here in the upstate, his back locked up on him in pregame, so he did not go. He was supposed to start Saturday night for South Carolina in the Garnet and Black spring game, and he didn't go. So they have a couple of injuries that Beamer says, they're nagging, but nothing serious. So again, for us to be able to say this is how we evaluated the spring game without us overreacting, that's a pretty good evaluation. I think the defense is going to be good. The offensive line, can it be worse than it was last year? I mean, I don't know. It was so bad last year.
Well, again, that's one of the things that concerns me. Lenora Sellers is probably above average with his feet. And it really just depends on how good this offensive line is going into this season, how good he's going to be asked to be with his feet. I mean, he'll have to make quick decisions, and I need to go back and watch the game again just to see how fast he was able to get the ball out in some of these situations. And JD said it himself. He said there were no 30, 40-yard passes. They weren't trying to air the ball out, which you would like to see them try at least once, just if nothing else for fan service. You'd like to see them try.
Just get them on their feet.
Yeah, get it out there. Let the fans see it. Let them be give them one of those moments.
Yeah.
You know.
I will say this. I do think that Again, Texter saying the same thing you said. Why are you saying Lenore? I'm just pronouncing it the way that he does, but I'll say Lenoris if that makes everybody happy. Okay, is that better?
Am I wrong?
No. And I think I've heard both. I've heard Beamer say it both ways. I've heard coaches say it both ways. Lenore, Lenoris. I think it's I'm just going off of what a texter said. He's saying, why are you saying Lenore? I'll say Lenoris. That way everybody's happy.
If he can kick some more ass, he'll be LeChuck Norris.
Sure, that's right. I'll say this though, Diesel. I do think that with his ability to run and get out of the pocket, I think he's a much better quarterback when they run him out of play action and use him to, their receivers this year, they're not going to be the best receivers in the world, but when he's able to almost bootleg and play action and run out and allow the receivers to create some separation and also gives him time. Because, listen, the bottom line is the offensive line is not going to be great. If you do a lot of play action, you would think that Lenoris is going to be able to create space for him to be able to get out and set his feet and throw, also give the receivers time to separate themselves. I don't think South Carolina's huge up front, so I think the more play action this year, the better.
Yeah, there was one slot pass that I saw go into Mazio Bennett. I was impressed.
That's a good pass.
It was a little low, and he went down to get it, and shorthanded guy. So I don't know exactly how they're planning on using Mazio Bennett for the better part of the season. He's not a huge guy.
No, he's not.
Right. So he's not certainly going to be a guy lining up on the outside that you can throw the ball up to, and that's one of the issues that I do have with the roster at this moment. Maybe they can get somebody in the transfer portal. I mean, most of their wide receivers are smaller bodied guys.
Yeah.
I think Nick Harbor might be the biggest wide receiver on the roster, listed at 6'5", 242. He's a big dude. But, outside of him, I'm just rolling down this list of wide receivers, and I don't see a whole lot of guys taller than 6'1".
That was a good catch from Mazio. Really good catch.
It was. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Mazio's 5'11". Amari Huggins-Bruce, 5'11". Who else is on the roster as a running back? Nick Harbor, again, 6'5". You've got Gage Larvadane, 5'10". So it's a bunch of little wide receivers on this team. And that's one of the things as you've got Lenoris Sellers, and in his first year as a starter, he may not necessarily have that safety valve where you could just throw it up.
No, he's not.
He's going to have to be more precise, or they're going to have to find a second guy to complement Nick Harbor at 6'5".
They're not going to have that guy where he can and again, I'm not saying he won't have a safety valve. Nick Harbor's going to have to be the guy. Him and Nick are going to have the best connection. When it's third and, whatever, and he has to make a play, it's going to have to go to Nick. Nick's going to have to be the guy that makes the play for his quarterback, but they don't have the guy that they can just throw it up and go get it. And Clemson don't either. I mean, it seems like for whatever reason, those receivers are exiting the state. I mean, I don't want to say exiting. They're not even entering the state. We're just not doing a good job recruiting those big receivers like we're used to seeing.
I know you've been extremely plugged in with high school ball in the state of South Carolina over the past couple of seasons. Your show is absolutely fantastic. The show that you do, Saturday Morning Scramble, every day, every week. Who is there anybody coming down the pike that you know of, a rising senior this year, a rising junior this year, that you just look into your crystal ball and you say, oh, he's a big body dude. If one of these teams can keep him, they need to do their absolute best to get him.
I don't know that big body. I mean, I'll be honest with you. For whatever reason, it seems like the big bodies are just not there. I mean, there's some guys that are going to be difference makers if they stay in state. Especially, I think about Trey Segura at Burns, but the big body wide receivers, man, it seems like when I was, when you and I were growing up, it seems like you had those guys, especially at the high school level. But for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like you have them anymore. I mean, Clemson used to have some tall guys.
What's in the water here?
I don't know. When's the last time we've had anybody in state in South Carolina or Clemson that since Alshon, since Martavis Bryant, since those guys that could go up and get those balls on the ladders? It's been a while. We just hadn't had I don't know. The tall receivers in our state have, I guess they've gone.
Texter says, what can you tell me about this? You know who this is? South Carolina should have recruited Tank, the wide receiver from Westside.
Tank, I don't know Tank. I'll have to do some research on that. Tank.
Help us out a little bit, Texter. Give us, is Tank a nickname? Is that his, what is that? Tank Williams, Tank Rogers, Tank?
Oh, he's talking about Jimmer Boston. Jimmer Boston from Westside. I believe Jimmer Boston committed to North Carolina State.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't know his height. That's a good question. But he was a good receiver. They just won a state championship this past year. It's a good point, Texter. Great text there.
See, that's why Cole Bryson got the job, because he knows this stuff inside and out.
Appreciate the text. 71307. One texter says Harbor should be a beast when he's done running track, and we still got the Arkansas running back. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying it's a lost cause at the skill positions. I would love for them to be able to add somebody. I don't know if they can this late though.
Yeah, if you're trying to add starters at this point, then your roster is in a tough spot.
Yeah.
If you're trying to add some depth guys, look, if South Carolina can add somebody, best case scenario, and Texter, we're gonna look up in the break to see who's still out there available in the transfer portal. We're now a little under a week into the spring transfer portal window.
Yeah, it doesn't last long though.
We'll
does
take
it?
a look and see. No, it's only a 2-week window. Look and see who's out there and available. Best available in the wide receiver category. Again, South Carolina, for a lot of these guys who are entering the portal, might be pretty far down on their list as far as places they'd like to go. But we'll look and see who's out there, who they may target. But Cole, when we come back this weekend, I was thwarted trying to watch a game that I wanted to watch multiple times. And it's all because of streaming. Streaming sounds great, right? Everybody's going to stop their cable and get streaming until you realize how much of a pain in the ass it is. And the question is, what would it take for you to go back? We'll get into that. We'll take a look at the transfer portal window, see what wide receivers might be available out there. When we come back, you're listening on 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, online everywhere with the free Odyssey app. Shout out to you if you are listening on your phone on the free Odyssey app. Appreciate you. You can take us anywhere you go, right there. Some of you even have us in your back pocket, which is kind of nice, which means we're touching your butt. If you are listening over the air, awesome. Kicking it old school. If you're listening after the fact on any one of the ways that you can podcast the show, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or on the Odyssey app, thank you so much. Just do us a favor if you haven't already. Subscribe, would you? Subscribe, like, follow, whatever it's called on your particular platform. Then do it. Would you? Hey, so this weekend, Cole, I tried to watch multiple sporting events that were happening right here in our very nice area of the upstate. And guess what? I was blacked out.
Shocker.
Of multiple of them. And this is something, Cole, that, like, you know, when everybody said, oh, we're just going to cut the cord, go away from having cable, and we're going to have some other way of watching. Like, you're still paying for it. Like, so the question is, would you rather just continue paying the evil empire of cable or the 3-letter AT whatever network? I'm not going to say who they are because I have that network at home for my internet. I don't want to trash talk them because I don't want them to shut my internet off. I need it.
Yeah.
But at what point, Cole, is it so much of a pain in the rear end to work your way around, to share passwords, to buy extra add-ons to whatever account it is, to be able to watch all of these games, that you just say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go back to my regular TV provider? Like, I asked my brother-in-law, who pays for like the Billy Badass package, what his cable bill is a month. It's not cable, it's AT, you know. And yeah, and he told me, he's like, man, I'm not proud of it. His bill every month is $235.
No thanks.
My in-laws have Xfinity living out in New Mexico, which is what we use for most of our logins to watch most of our television for free.
Sure.
They're spending close to $300 a month. $300. Like, I remember when cable was like $65. Now it's $300. That's absurd.
So I'm at like 120 because internet is like 50.
Yeah.
And then YouTube TV is like 70.
Is it worth it?
100%.
TV?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. I love it.
See, there it is. You've cut the cord.
Yeah.
But you're just paying somebody else. You're still having to pay somebody.
Yeah, I'm still paying somebody. I'm paying somebody else.
Is it? Yeah.
I don't get everything, though. Like, just because you have YouTube TV doesn't mean you can watch all the Braves games. It doesn't mean you have MLB Network.
I pay for ESPN Plus so that I can watch Sunbelt games on streaming.
Sure.
Which gets me access to a whole bunch of other stuff. And what drives me nuts, Cole, is when, like, I've paid for this. I'm launching my ESPN app on my TV, and it shows me the game right there. Braves Astros or Braves Texans. I click on it, womp womp, blacked out in your area. So then somebody's like, oh, here's what you got to do. You got to get a VPN. You got to pay. You got to get a VPN. I'm like, wait a minute. So then I got to pay extra.
No, that's true. That's true.
I got to pay extra to skirt the rules. Like, eventually it gets to be a pain in the ass, right? Like, I got to get the VPN, and then I got to pay a monthly subscription for that. And then I've got to get somebody's login, and then it thinks I'm in Bangladesh or wherever, and I can just watch whatever game I want.
No, it's a pain. There's no doubt.
It's a pain.
Listen, there's no good. I don't know that there's an easy solution. I don't know that there's an easy fix. I hate it. I really do. Because, like yesterday, I can't remember if it was Atlanta. No, yesterday Atlanta was on ESPN. Must have been the day before. Fox used to, when I was growing up, FS1, I could watch the Braves on my charter or whoever I had every day. I grew up watching the Braves every day. Now you can't do that. And a lot of that has to do with Bally, but the streaming services and Bally.
Stick to running gyms.
It sucks. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I don't know that I'd go back to cable, though. I don't think I would. I just would. I mean, what I do is like I watch, if I want to watch the Braves and I can't watch them, I'll watch them illegally through a pirated site, right? To where I have to then stream
I don't
that.
know what you mean, Cole. I've never done that.
Yeah. I stream that onto my TV from my laptop or iPad. So it does take more work. Like there's no easy fix to this. I do hate it.
That's damn near criminal, man. It's damn near criminal for the Atlanta Braves. Just speaking locally here, I'm not dogging the Braves. I'm not vilifying the Braves over any other team because I'm sure it's the same in all of those cities.
It is.
But like that's damn near criminal for the Braves to say, "Oh, all you people who live near Atlanta who want to watch the Braves, pay us more money."
I think that's Bally doing that. I really do. I think it's Bally.
But it's the same with all of these are on Bally, right? The same with the Hornets. Like I tune in and I want to watch the Hornets. Can't do it. I tune in and I want to watch the Canes. Can't do it.
It definitely does.
Cole. I even once, don't judge me on this. I know you will. And I know the Tolos will as well. One time I tried to log in and watch Charlotte FC. And it was blacked out.
Oh, man.
Locally. I mean, this is a sport that's trying to grow in this area that needs every single customer they can possibly get. And they're like, nope. Let's put it behind a paywall. And some of these things are cool. Like you already pay for your ESPN and it's available through ESPN, just not where you are. This geolocator crap is ridiculous.
I hate it for the game of baseball. Like kids growing up watching baseball aren't going to be able to watch it the same way we used to. They're not going to be able to do it.
It's just on every day.
Yeah.
You come home, turn on TBS, boom, there's the Braves.
Real quick before we hit a break, let's go back to JD. He had a run, but he's back now, I believe. JD, sorry for making you stand by on hold. What's up, man?
No, well, first of all, I'm sorry that I had to tell you no. My wife, she's been sick. I had to get her some medicine. I'm sorry to tell you no. I'm on topic, though, here with the Braves real quick. Dude, it's almost like the Braves have a non-compete clause here in the Southeast. If you bring up a map of the USA and you draw a circle, or if you bring up all the MLB stadiums and you draw a circle around the Braves, they literally have like at least a 300-mile radius in every direction in a complete circle where there is not another major league team anywhere in the vicinity. And so they gained that grasp whenever it was TBS. And like you said, we watched it when we were all kids and everything. But yeah, it's just crazy. And the one other thing I want to say about the Braves, as far as how they're playing this year, I think it's very interesting that the superstars are not having to carry the team currently. Granted, we lost Strider, but Olsen, Riley, Acuna, Albies, he's been out a little bit, but none of those guys are having to put in heavy work. And so the longer that sustains with Ozuna and Arcia and Darno or Murphy or whomever it may be, as long as those guys are putting in the work in the regular season, I think that'll create a much fresher team for them in the playoffs to be able to succeed regardless of what seed they're in. Like last year, Acuna and everybody, they were exhausted by the time they got to the playoffs. I mean, they were gassed is the way I see it. But again, gentlemen, I might have not said thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to get in on the Braves and everything. Hey, and Diesel, one thing for you too, Diesel. You mentioned that me and Cole were either going to hug or kiss one another. I mean, that's pretty much the same relationship that you and I got. Either you want to punch me in the face.
I don't know anything about this, JD.
What is going on right now?
Don't put that business out there in the world.
No. Either you want to hug me or you want to punch me in the face because your name is Diesel. I mean, I was going to say you didn't want, but no, I don't want to kiss anybody.
Thanks for the call, JD.
JD in Simpsonville.
8-4.
Hey, I did Cole real quick. Promise everybody a little transfer portal tracker. What's going on out there? There's a couple of guys who are still listed as undecided in the portal that South Carolina may consider going after. Of course, there's Sam Brown, who's coming out of Houston. Keandre Lambert Smith out of Penn State. He's 6'1", 185. And then this one is interesting, Cole. I think this one may have the best possibility of happening. I have no idea where he may be interested in going, but out of Georgia, Tyler Williams, 6'3", 205. If South Carolina could get Tyler Williams out of Georgia to come to Columbia, then they would have somebody of a decent size who may be able to complement Nick Harbor.
There you go. All right. Coming up next, can LeBron James even the series tonight, and more NBA on the other side? First round of the playoffs happening now. If you missed our interview with Aaron Fitt earlier in the program, or don't even know who Aaron Fitt is, well, Aaron Fitt's one of the best, if not the best, Division I baseball writers in America.
I think the best answer we got out of him, Cole, was your question on how Eric Bakich is perceived nationally.
Yeah.
And then the same question we asked him about
Kingston.
Holbrook or Kingston.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that was great.
He's still very high on Mark Kingston. I know a lot of South Carolina fans aren't. So you're going to want to listen to that interview next to hear those answers again.
Aaron's the best. Aaron, I have known him for a while. He is tremendously difficult to book. And I have tried many, many times. And whenever he does give me the green light, man, I'm excited because there's nobody that in my opinion, that knows college football, baseball in and out like he does. He can name players on every team, and there's more college baseball teams. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Have one of those, like eidetic memories. I don't.
I don't
have one of those. I got to write this stuff down, man.
He's absolutely fantastic. And if you missed that interview, we will have that for you in about 20 minutes on the program. He was great. Aaron Fitt, again, of D1 Baseball, coming up in 20 minutes on the show. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone line open as well, 844-FAN-PHONE. He is on Twitter at Diesel on Radio. I am on Twitter at the Cole Bryson. If you give us a follow during the show, we'll try our best to give you a shout out. I did have a couple earlier. I'll get to them a little bit later on in the program. But the NBA playoffs started Saturday, and there were some good games. There were some blowouts. And I'll say this to start. The NBA's playoffs have taken a tremendous hit with 3 superstars being out. It absolutely stinks that we're in the most important, crucial time of the year, Diesel, and you've got guys like Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid hurt.
Well, before you get to the NBA playoffs, I was blown away. I watched some of the play-in games Friday night, and I was blown away at how empty the Miami Heat arena was.
Yeah, because of Jimmy.
Empty.
Yeah.
No one was there.
Superstar.
I get it. I get it. Juxtapose that to, what was the other one? New Orleans hosting Sacramento. That place was packed.
Yeah.
See, there you go. The superstar was out for New Orleans, and they still packed the house. That's Miami for you, though. If you're not the best, if the best are not available on the court, they're not showing up.
Was it that bad?
It was bad, man.
I'm trying to look and see.
It looked like it was maybe 60% full.
19,000. Let's see what the Pelicans was.
I don't buy it. Ain't no way there was 19,000 people in that way. And maybe if the arena seats 35.
18,000 in New Orleans. There was more in Miami.
What? I don't buy those.
You don't buy it?
Again, you're seeing probably tickets sold.
It says attendance.
Miami.
That means people in the seats, right?
Miami seat. 19,000 seat arena is where the Miami Heat play.
Yeah.
And it said it was a virtual sellout.
They didn't show up?
No.
So
come on.
They pandered them outside, I guess.
In the words of Mad Max from the John Boy and Billy show, my big old butt.
So
no way was that place sold out.
On Saturday, Cleveland, Orlando, that series, in my opinion, will not be much of anything. Cleveland defeated Orlando on Saturday, 97-83. A fascinating series, though, however, is the Timberwolves and the Suns. I do think that Kevin Durant, at some point in his career, has to take a team and put a team on his back, put a team on his shoulders, and go do something. This is not Kevin Durant where we're going to let you in Golden State, and we invite you along for the ride. Hope it all goes well.
Here you go, Cole. Here's a fine example. I'm going to point it at the camera. I'm going to point the camera at the thing. You telling me that's a sellout? Telling me that's a sellout
in the bathroom, I guess.
Yeah,
but I think that Kevin Durant now has to step up. I think that Kevin Durant has to prove himself. I know that it sounds wild to say that a guy like Kevin Durant has to prove himself because he has won 3 titles. But listen, at the end of the day, he won 3 titles with Golden State, one of the best teams ever assembled.
Steph won 3 titles. He was just on the team.
Sure, he was. He was on the team. And Kevin Durant, in my opinion, still has to prove himself. I really think he does. They lost to Minnesota 120-95 on Saturday. The Knicks beat the 76ers 111-104. And the Nuggets 114-103 over LeBron James, who obviously I'm pulling for being a LeBron fan, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So that leaves Sunday's games. Heat Celtics, not even close. The Mavericks didn't show up yesterday. It was an absolute pitiful outing by Dallas last night. I'll get into that a little bit more deeper in just a second. The Bucks did move on. What a freaking performance last night in Milwaukee. Just one of those things where you look back at Damian Lillard and think, man, that was a career kind of moment for him. 35 points as the Bucks beat the Pacers. And then the Thunder last night, the overall 1 seed, they do defeat New Orleans by 2. So those are the games. I'll get into them a little bit deeper, give my thoughts on what's going to happen, and also tell you if I think that my GOAT, LeBron, can even the series tonight. I don't have the most faith in the world on this, but I'm going to try my best to convince the audience. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663 is the way you can get in touch with Wire to Wire. We go to the phones where Kevin wants to chime in. What's up, man?
What's going on, Cole Aloysius?
How are you? It's good to hear from you.
Oh, man. Hey, man, just sitting out here hanging out for a minute, man. Hey, man, I'm a Laker fan. I love him to death, but I tell you what, D-Lo got to come off the stick, man. D-Lo has got to be consistent every game, because if he don't be consistent every game, we're going to go home in 4 games.
Can I ask you this? Why when the lights are on brightest, why does he just not show up? What's the deal, man?
He ready to defer to LeBron so much, man. Like, you can see it. LeBron got to give him the ball, like, hey, man, go. But when LeBron is out the game, he'll go for it. But it's like, when long as LeBron is in the game, he will not go for it. He won't get to it, man. But he got to get to it from the get-go, because Jamal Murray and them boys is getting to the cup as soon as they can get to the cup.
Yeah. I think he's in. I think that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's intimidation, but I don't think that Jamal Murray really presents himself in a way where D'Angelo Russell feels like he has a chance. Again, I'm not saying D'Lo's intimidated, but whatever reason, man, against Denver, D'Lo does not show up.
He won't show up, man. And he's going to be the big piece, man. Like, AD and LeBron going to do what they're going to do. But D'Lo, rest of them boys, we got to get off. We got to go. We got to make this a series, man. I don't want to go home in 4 games.
Rui's got to show up. I've always said that Rui and D'Lo have to be kind of the Batman and Robin that you aren't expecting. And they've got to show. All right, Kevin, who wins it all? East, West, NBA Finals in 2 months. Who do you got?
Man, after West, you might well say Denver's going to make a big push. We already know that one.
Yeah.
So who's going to be the next team out the West that's going to step up and do what they got to do?
Maybe Minnesota.
Minnesota can make some moves, man. Minnesota can make some moves. But if you're going to beat Denver, you're going to have to get up and down the floor. You're going to have to run Jokic all night long. Like, as soon as the ball come off, you got to go. Like, and go set up and go get in your offense. No setting up, no offense. No. Get down the floor and run him. Because if not, he's just going to shack you all night long. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
Sure.
Nothing. So out of the East, that thing is in the air, man. But I tell you what, if it gets to where it's Boston and Milwaukee, that's going to be another good one. And now with Dame being there, Dame's going to take this thing to another level. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee and Denver.
Kev, thanks for the call, man. Really appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too. That's 844-326-3663. There's Kev's predictions. I do think Denver-Boston is.
Kevin didn't sound super high on the Celtics. Everybody's putting this in the Celtics' hands.
Here's the problem. The Celtics, and I could spend an hour on this, the Celtics, for whatever reason, you can't trust them in the postseason. I love Jason Tatum. I love Jaylen Brown, but for whatever reason, Diesel, Jason Tatum cannot be trusted in the postseason, and Boston has yet to prove it. I mean, as good as a player as Jason Tatum is, you know how many rings he has? 0. I mean, he's done nothing. He's going against good teams. I get it.
This is the time of the season when superstars have to step up.
They do.
You know,
They do.
You got to have a guy that you can trust to go out and win you a game. And you guys were both talking about D'Angelo Russell. He's not that guy.
Well, for whatever reason, like I said, man, when lights show up,
it helps when you have Anthony Davis on your team dropping 30 plus like they did against Denver the other night.
They look good. I thought they looked good. Yeah.
I mean, a good duo. That is one hell of a duo if you got another guy. And in that game, I just had the stats up. I closed it. I believe he had somewhere in the range of 12, 14 points, something like that.
Yeah.
If you can get him scoring 18 to 20 points, that's when you got a trio, man. That's pretty unbeatable.
What people have to realize is you can play good against Denver. Like, in my opinion, the other night, Saturday night, LA played good. They played really good against Denver. But Denver, they don't get the respect they deserve, but they are just a juggernaut, Diesel. They're a juggernaut. So, again, I'll get into Dallas in a second. I was disappointed with Luka, man. You know, Luka's a star, and we talked about it Friday. Luka needing to show up, and he didn't.
Yeah, Cole, I'll give you a chance to grab this phone call here. I do want to remind you that coming up on Wednesday, we're going to be live on location at Ingles Markets in Piedmont.
Heck yeah.
And then on Thursday, we're going to be live for our draft show at Dave & Buster's Woodruff Road.
On the road this week.
Yeah.
I love it.
2 out of 5 days out of the studio.
You get the 2 chances to come see us this week.
We want you to come see us in both.
Absolutely. Thursday's going to be a lot of fun. Draft party at Dave & Buster's. I can't wait. Somebody asked earlier on the stream, before we get back into the NBA, somebody asked earlier if we would be, or if I would be wearing any Panthers gear. Well, the answer to that's no, negative. In case you were wondering, I apologize.
Well, you just go to a thrift store, find the saddest color of blue.
That's
and
true.
Can work as either Cowboys or Panthers.
That's true.
Gear. That's really how that works. And we are going to have Anish Shroff on the show on Thursday in the 4 o'clock hour. Haven't solidified whether it's going to be a 4 or 4:20. Also, Rob Brown of the Rob Brown Show is going to be there hanging out for just a little bit. So, hey, if you got any draft questions, you want to get them in early, please do. There's going to be a ton of stuff going on there, guys, and we don't want to miss any questions that you may have. You can email me, diesel@thefanupstate.com, and let us know if you got any specific draft questions you want to ask.
A ton of draft coverage coming your way. It's going to be a lot of fun. D wants to chime in on the NBA conversation. D, what's up, man?
I was just saying, the guy that called before, he's talking about the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Lakers have no chance, even with an aging LeBron James, because Denver just got too many weapons, man. They make it look like, okay, you in the game at the beginning, but then at the end, they just know how to close out like champions, baby. Nuggets all the way.
D, come on, man. You telling me there's no way LeBron and AD, they can't get a couple games, make this thing interesting?
I mean, when they go home, you know how the refereeing and you know how the showmanship of the NBA is. So, yeah, they'll go home. They might win 1 or 2, but really, I mean, they going to do what they did to them last year.
I take it, D, you're a big Nuggets fan, so you got your pitchfork, you got your shovel. You're out there digging a hole, man. You're going to throw Cole, LeBron, AD, and Kevin, all of them in there together.
Hey, well, what I'm saying, I like LeBron and, you know, what he's done, and I followed him since he was a youngster. But, yeah, I'm a diehard Nugget, baby. From Alex English, Doug Moe, I'm Nuggets from back then, baby.
Oh, you're going local
right now.
You're going local with the Alex English, bringing it local.
I'm a Nugget fan. T.R. Dunn, Fat Lieber, baby, listen, you know, you got Golden State fans out there say they Golden State fan, but they really Steph Curry fans. And if he leave, they leave. I'm true diehard Nugget. We waited a long time for this.
D, we appreciate the call, man.
Thanks
great
call,
stuff.
D.
Please call back, brother. That's great. D Nuggets fan. That's the first Nuggets fan we've had call in.
I think ever on this station.
There are Nuggets
First
fans
time.
out there. I like it.
I think we've now had more Nuggets fans call in than Hornets fans.
I like the energy, man. You know what? It makes me excited because I love the NBA. I don't get a chance to talk a ton of NBA because a lot of our listeners aren't NBA fans, and I hate that for them because I love it.
I think you just haven't pushed the right buttons.
Well,
Because right there, you talk NBA, boom, 2 phone calls.
I love it. D, Kev, let's keep it going. I'll talk NBA for 4 hours next week every day if y'all want to. Now, come on, Diesel, we'll get on board. We'll go NBA all day, man. I can do it. All right, I was disappointed with Luka. I was disappointed with Luka yesterday. Dallas, let me tell you what I did. You're going to laugh at this. You know these friendly wagers that I play sometimes?
Yeah. Totally legal friendly wagers. No
Just
money
a friendly
involved.
wager.
Just respect on the line.
So, Diesel, you have two teams yesterday, both at 50 wins on the season. Pretty even match teams. You're thinking, okay, it should be a close game. Yesterday, what do? What does Cole do stupid yesterday? I go online, again, in a friendly wager, and a prop bet. Largest lead in the Clippers-Mavs game, 17.5. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I think it's going to be a tight game. There's no way at any time during the game somebody's going to lead by 18 points. There's no way. So I friendly wager with the under.
Play the under. Seems like a smart play.
It does. It's playoffs.
Teams.
18 points is what I did not need them to lead by. Well, guess what? First quarter, Dallas doesn't show up. LA comes out, guns a-blazing, 18-point lead. So that wager, gone.
What's it like to lose money that fast?
It's not.
Did you turn the game off? Like, man,
I was mad.
I'm mad. I'm not watching.
I had the race, the game, and the golf yesterday at RBC, all three, and I about canceled that one. Yesterday, Dallas just didn't show up.
I canceled your YouTube TV.
Oh, I was pissed. Very disappointed in Luka. I'll say this: I am one of Luka's biggest fans. I think he's one of the best players in basketball. When it was all said and done yesterday, him and Kyrie ended up having like 64 points combined, which is great. However, you've got to set the tone. You've got to really come out with a much more aggressive style of play. And Dallas looked pitiful yesterday. They looked dreadful. And LA just jumped on them. I mean, let me look. It was, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the first quarter, it was 34-22 LA. And in the second quarter, well, surely Dallas will have a better second quarter, right? No, Dallas scores 8 points in the second quarter, Diesel. You have Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic on your team. And in the second quarter yesterday, you scored 8 points. That is pitiful. So guess what? You were sitting there with 30 points at halftime, down by $1 trillion, pitiful by Luka, pitiful by Kyrie. Somebody's got to step up. These are potential Hall of Famers. Kyrie acts like he doesn't even know what he's supposed to do in the playoffs. Like, what do I do with my hands? He's been there before. I don't know why this is such a challenge for him, but very, very disappointed in him. Very disappointed in Luka. I thought that would be a much more competitive game. Damian Lillard yesterday was phenomenal. He absolutely had an incredible game against Indiana. And then tonight, we have 3 games on the slate tonight, 7, 7:30, and 10. Of course, the game I want to watch, Diesel, 10 o'clock tonight. Lakers, Nuggets, 7 o'clock's Magic versus the Cavs, 7:30, 76ers, Knicks, and then at 10 o'clock, Lakers, Nuggets, East Coast. I hate to see the ratings for that. It's going to be dreadful.
You know what I'm going to be watching? I'm going to be watching
Eyelids.
I'm going to be watching Islanders Hurricanes.
What time's that?
That is at 7:30.
Canes are up 1-0, by the way.
Canes up 1-0. Canes have the most number of wins of any team alive in the playoffs. Maple Leafs had 46 wins, Bruins 47, Islanders 39. So this is a 52-23 team versus a 39-27 team. So the Hurricanes should be able to handle the Islanders fairly easily. We'll see. We'll see. So this is game 2.
I tell you what I want to do. I almost went last year, and I didn't go. But I'd like to figure out how to go this year. If you go to Charlotte, I don't even think it's all the way in Charlotte. If you go up 85, right before you get to Charlotte, I'm not sure where it picks up. But there's a train, like you were talking about the other day, that goes from Charlotte to Raleigh. And I think, I don't know if it's a high speed, like how fast it is or how long it takes to get
Probably
there.
a commuter.
But I think it's faster than driving because here to Raleigh is what? A long way.
It's a haul, dude.
What, 4 or 5 hours?
We're about to do it here in a couple of weeks, drive up there for a concert.
Well, see, that's a long way to turn around and come back.
Yeah.
Too long.
It is.
So I would love to go to Charlotte, get on a train in Raleigh, and go watch the Canes. I'll say this. I've said it before. When I lived in Dallas.
Make a Caniac out of you?
Well, I wish they were in Charlotte because I really pull for them. But when I was in Dallas, I went to 2 Stars playoff games, and there is nothing better than playoff hockey. I mean, it is unbelievable. I'd love to go. Canes fans are great. Raleigh's embraced them.
Though. You're right. That is a haul.
Let's see.
I went up there for a game last year, and it was a haul.
From right here to Raleigh, North Carolina is 4 hours from where we're sitting, Diesel. You can't go do that and come back the same night. You have to get in a room. And I mean, 4 hours, the game's not till 7:30, 8, 9, 10, 10:30.
Yeah.
You're not getting home till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. No thanks. But I'd love to go see them. That game is on ESPN2 tonight, by the way. Hurricanes.
Unless it's blacked out locally by Bally.
Oh, my God. Surely not. I liked somebody.
See, I'm a creature of habit. I need consistency. I need to be able to go to the same app every time to watch my team play. And if I can't do that, man, I'm all over the place. I'm discombobulated.
Maple Leafs, Bruins tonight. Islanders versus the Hurricanes. As Diesel said, Golden Knights and Stars, the Dallas Stars. I guess I still have a little love for them. I'll pull for them.
I told you wrong there. I said the Hurricanes had the best record, most number of wins. They're tied with the Dallas Stars, 52-21.
Dallas is good this year. They made a trade, a couple of good trades, and they should be. I don't know. I think the Rangers.
This is round one in that series.
Sure. And last game tonight, 10 o'clock, ESPN2, Kings Oilers, Western Conference, first round, game 1. So a lot of good sports on the night. If you like professional basketball and hockey, I know that some people don't. That's not their cup of tea. I
Have
get
you
it.
ever watched the intro, the way they bring, the way they open Golden Knights games?
Oh, probably
It's
the best
awesome.
in sports.
It's awesome. It's cheesy. It's Vegas,
But it's still
great.
It's still the best.
I still love it.
You know what? I'm not a huge hockey fan. I haven't watched regular season hockey, but I will say that if I had a team in Charlotte, man, like if there was a team in Charlotte, a hockey team in Charlotte, you better believe I'd be all in. Be great. An hour away? Are you kidding me? But no.
Trying to get one right here in Greenville, man. I don't even want you driving all the way to Charlotte.
Well, that'd be fine too. All right, before we hit a break tonight, I like Cleveland over Orlando. I like Joel Embiid being out's tough. I hate to say this, but I do believe that the Knicks are going to go up 2-0 tonight. I really do. I think Knicks are going up 2-0. And then lastly, LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, those guys are going to figure out a way tonight to get the win and even the series. That's right. I said it. I like the Lakers over the Nuggets tonight. All right, coming up next, Diesel. Is it the interview replay time? Is it Aaron Fitt time?
It is.
Well, let's do
some
it.
College baseball next with Aaron Fitz.
Is Aaron Fitt. He works for D1 Baseball. Aaron, we appreciate you joining us today, man. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. Appreciate you taking time to join us. I want to start off with this, Aaron. We cover Clemson and South Carolina a good bit on this program, but I want to start with the latest D1 rankings that come out. That came out earlier today, rather. Texas A&M still at the top. Clemson with a little movement now at 5. But your overall thoughts on the season, and do you think that this could translate all the way to Omaha?
Yeah, certainly. Right now, I think they are probably playing better than anyone else, and I think their lineup is truly terrifying. You know, it's a really, really, really scary position player group, and I think they've earned their spot at the top of the rankings. I mean, I had one losing weekend all year long. Arkansas also has only had one losing weekend all year long, and certainly, you know, you would take A&M's position player group over Arkansas. But personally, I still like Arkansas pitching the best of anybody. You know, and for me, that's the real separator in this era of college baseball where offense is crazy. Everybody scores turn rights. I mean, you just look at the scoreboard yesterday, and it's like, get to the ACC or SEC, it's like 17-11, 16-13. It's just like, that's just the era we live in now. And if you have real shutdown arms like Arkansas does, to me, that's how you kind of separate yourself from the back, especially when we get to Omaha. You know, you see those teams at the College World Series, the ones that win it are usually the ones that have real shutdown.
Maybe pulling a Cinderella move and winning it like Coastal Carolina did a few years ago. Who has the best shot in your mind to make a deep run?
Yeah, it's funny. You know, when I think of East Carolina, the word Cinderella doesn't really come to mind because, like you said, they're just so good every year. You know, they host regionals, they win regionals. They've just never been able to bust down that door to Omaha, which is incredible. I mean, really, they're kind of undisputed, the best college baseball program that's never been to the College World Series.
Oh,
it's only a matter of time, and it feels like this really could be the year. I mean, because, you know, when they've had their best shots at getting there, it's because they've had frontline power pitching, and that's what they have this year with Trey Savage and Zach Root, which for me is as good a 1-2 punch as you'll probably find in the country. You know, right up there with what Arkansas got in the rotation, and you know, they've got a lot of experience on that team, guys that have played a ton of postseason games, winning ball players in the lineup. I think this is the year that the Pirates punch their ticket to Omaha, and once they get there, it wouldn't surprise me if they're just kind of freed up. You know, they got that monkey off their back that's been there for decades, and once you get there, you know, they've got the arms to do it. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a coastal leg run. So that's really the team for me in that mid-major group that stands out the most. I like Irvine's team a lot. It's a really good position player group. They're more physical than maybe you expect from a Big West team. That they're not going to hit a ton of home
Final segment of the program coming your way. He's Diesel. I am Cole Bryson, and we are the hosts of Wire to Wire. As a reminder, we will be on location Wednesday and Thursday. So come out and see us. We are at Ingalls in where Wednesday?
Powdersville,
the big city. The big P over there. That's what I'm talking about.
Greenville's next suburb.
Yep. And then on Thursday, guess what? It's the draft party.
Yeah.
Our draft coverage really gets hot and heavy tomorrow, and we'll have it for you all week, all the way to Monday till it wraps up. Diesel?
Yes, we will. Cole, I know we talked NBA in the first segment of the 6 o'clock hour, but here's a piece of audio that we hadn't had a chance to get to yet today. And this reminds me, anybody who ever was in public school, you know how tough public school kids can be.
Yeah.
And when they had remember when you were in like 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, you would read popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would read a book and teacher would say like popcorn Cole. And then you would have to read to the end of the paragraph. And then you would say like popcorn Jeff. And then Jeff had to continue.
Right.
This is like that, but with multimillionaires. Okay. I feel bad for Shaq, but then I'm like, you're rich. You're going to be fine. This audio came from inside the NBA, and they're dogging on Shaq. Let me ask you if you think this is over the top, if this is mean, or if it's just those guys' antics.
Okay.
Player of the year. The 3 final year for clutch player of the year.
Oh, okay. All right. Sound it out, big fella. Stephen Curry, Golden State Warriors. DeMar DeRozan, Chicago Bulls. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, the Buffalo Bills.
Shea Gilgeous? Shout out to the Buffalo Bills, too.
There you go.
I'm a Buffalo Bill.
He's the best. That is
this part, Cole.
Sound it out, big fella.
Sound it out, big fella.
I love that show because I'm an NBA fan.
We should save that drop right there and use it on the show.
Sound
Absolutely.
it out, big fella.
That show, obviously NBA fans love it, but that is the best show ever for sports.
Yeah.
The best 4 that you could ever possibly put together. I love it, man.
I mean, they've been together so long. They know each other's ins and outs, their quirks, the things that drive them nuts, the things that they can pick on each other about. It's great. You watch shows where and you can tell that it's forced, right? Like here's people who got stuck together on a show. Somebody in a boardroom decided, you know what? Let's put those 2 on a show. Let's see if it works out. But no, not these guys, man. They know each other like the back of each other's hands.
They do. I love it. I'm ready tonight, man. I'm ready to see the Lakers do it. I'm calling it right. All right, take us home, Diesel. Take us home.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hey, listen to our podcast after the show is over on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Just do us a favor and give us a thumbs up. Give us a good review. Hit that subscribe button, follow, like, whatever it is on that platform. Just make sure that you
sound it out, big fella.
Solo. Hey, before you close that, Trey sent in a suggestion for the fight.
Love it. Trey, I got you, man. 5 o'clock fight. Which is historically better? The blue light special at Kmart or the red light at Krispy Kreme? Ooh. Trey, I think you're biased. Okay? I think you're biased because the red light is currently on. Thanks for the suggestion. We'll work it in. Thanks, guys.